So, Mr. Silva, my name is William Gesick. I think you know of me. I don't think you know me personally. Um, we crossed paths on Facebook, supposedly after your daughter was murdered by Joseph. Um, Let me tell you how her and I came to be. Things that you and everybody else blocked me out, which is suspect. It's highly suspect. Things that I was on the phone with your daughter about 20 to 25 minutes before she supposedly died. So I find this extremely weird that you wouldn't want to talk to me and know what my relationship was with her. I can tell you at the time that your daughter became actively involved with me, she had brought up the fact that she was going to separate from Joe. I had nothing to do with that. I did give her moral support, lots of it. As a matter of fact, about 80% of our phone calls and texts were in reference to giving her moral support. Your daughter was a very lonely girl, trapped in a house, living with a narcissist, very little social life. She came on my webpage in 2020. It would be another 2 years before I even remotely messaged her back and forth. She said she found me on Reddit. I'm well versed in the occult, not the practice of it, but the research of it. I've made over 14,000 videos, so I have a pretty good idea. She contacted me right about the time that you see here, maybe a little bit before. We had been talking just about the website stuff for about a year prior to that. She called me up one day out of the blue, and I was surprised because she said that she's sorry that she hadn't been on the website and that she was having problems with Joe and that she was separating from him. And it was my day off, so I said, well, do you want to talk? I have nothing else to do today. And so that's how this whole thing started. And as time went on, her and I became friends. And then from friends, you know how this goes. You're a guy. We got closer. I climbed trees for a living, so I was working in Michigan at the time. This is going to turn out to be a very, very weird video because there's a lot of anomalies that are surrounding this thing. I do not believe that whatever happened went down the way they said it happened. It's so occultically weird. Even for me, it raises an eyebrow. So this picture that you see here, she sent that to me. This is from her text. She had 3 phone numbers. The original one that she had, the 973 number, I believe. She had another one because Abby would borrow her phone and she didn't want Abby seeing that she was texting me. And then there was a third one that supposedly when Joe broke her phone, your wife, who incidentally, your wife Denise, her name and information keeps getting mulched in with Stephanie's, saying Denise Silva, SAS 32680, 44, Hopkinton, Rhode Island. These are interchangeable. That I don't quite understand. It's highly suspect. But this picture she sent to me. Now there's a problem with this picture. I accepted it at the time. Because we were talking, and there was no reason not to. I found your daughter to be one of the kindest, sweetest people and women I've ever met. A matter of fact, my life has been nothing but destroyed since this thing happened, whatever it is that really happened. I had a nervous breakdown and I really lost it. Really lost it. We had plans. No, it wasn't like we were going to run off into the sunset. But I was going to move up there and I was going to work. And I told her I'd work 3 jobs to help keep her in that house. I wasn't going to live there with her. I was going to live in my own place. After over a year, I built a special relationship with her. And so, that's the story behind that. I saw her and met her physically in when I was living in Mystic for a short amount of time doing tree work out there. Anyway, so back to this. So this here is supposedly a picture of her. It wasn't until after she supposedly died, I'm not even sure that even happened, supposedly died, that I started looking at it. And it was her Facebook page which caught my attention. So let me just grab that real quick. So if you look at this, Paul, I'll call you that, but because you'll never hear from me again, so I'm not worried about formalities. I ran this through an AI face simulator. This is supposed to be Stephanie here. This is the one I know. I don't know who this is. Okay, this one's off her Facebook page too. Now these two women have extremely pointy noses. The Stephanie I know has a rounder nose, almost Jewish. By the way, I'm Jewish myself, so, you know, not anti-Semitic. Okay, this is when I started noticing stuff afterwards, because I'm an expert in the occult, and this thing is riddled with things that are occultic. So let me grab some other pictures. Just let me point out, I knew all the dirt on Joe. I know that the idiot, they got married where he didn't have any shoes on. I know that when your wife flew out to Colorado to see him, he flipped out because he couldn't understand why your wife didn't want to visit with him instead of Stephanie. I know the whole story, everything. I knew more about this than you would ever know. Because I asked her one time, I said, did you ever tell your mom about this? And she said no. I said, why? She said, because I'm embarrassed. So I know more about this than you will ever know. And before we go any further, I'm going to point this out. That chick that lived next door to her, Amy Laska, that chick was involved in her death. 100%. Because she bears a striking resemblance to another woman named Erin Arnold. Which incidentally, I have programs. I went through Stephanie's, say, emails. Not where I could read them, but I could see the different contacts that she had. And one of them that's on there is Erin Arnold. Her real last name is Erin Austerlitz. Well, you don't think that's North Korean, do you? Erin Austerlitz and Stephanie, not Stephanie, but Amy, bear a striking resemblance, so much so that it's almost that they're the same person. And yet Stephanie knew both of them. Erin is the one that sold the house to them. This is going to get interesting real quick. Now this is taken off of her Facebook page. It's an interesting picture, but that's not her. That's not Stephanie. Okay? When you can run something through an AI face similarity that has a 99% accuracy, and it says that ain't the same broad, it's not. That is not her. And that hideous picture that you guys used, which I'll bring up for this memorial thing, I got a real problem with that too, because that ain't her. That's just an aged version of this one. So I started digging around, and believe me, I left no stone unturned. Like I said, you and I will never cross paths. We will never talk again. You have my word, you will never hear from me again after this. But you will hear of me again. So I started looking at every aspect, and here's the sale of the house. And I'm kind of confused, Paul, on how this same house keeps being bought by the same four people. Here's this name, Frabgus Hiziog. Oh, that's rich. Sarah Kalagi, Erin Arnold. Look and see the dates, February 09, then in 010. Old Frabris come back again. Her again. Arnold again. And see, the price keeps going up. But it's all the same people. I mean, I'm kind of wondering what's going on here, Paul. Now, this is where it kind of got really interesting. And this is a very short version, because I'm putting all of this stuff together and I'm sending it to every FBI agent in the United States, in all 50 states. I'm also sending it to the CIA, the White House. I'm going to blanket Rhode Island and Connecticut. I'm going to put it on the streets, because one way or another, I'm going to find out what really happened there. Because this reeks. So I went and looked. Stephani A. Francis. Here's Erin Arnold's email that was on her contact list. Here's Stephanie's address, as you well know. It was bought for $330,000. I know that you put up $15,000 and Joe put up $15,000. I know everything. But what's interesting is it says that Joe and Stephanie live at this address. Then explain to me how Aaron Elizabeth Arnold, who sold the house, sold it to Hesiod Frabcus and Stiagabu A. Frabcus. Now this is where it gets really interesting. Oh, and this number 33, I'm pretty sure you know what that means, Paul, because I do. But here, let me just bring that up real quick. Now if we look here, Paul, that name, Hesiod R. Frabcus and Stiagabu A. Frabcus, you know, to me that sounded like it was Latin and slightly demonic. So I started looking. I couldn't find anything, and I couldn't find anything, and I couldn't find anything. And finally, when I just was ready to give up, right when I was ready to give up, I just put it in the Google search bar, and guess what comes up? Joseph R. Francis is Hesiod R. Frabcus. You want to explain that one to me? Oh, and your daughter, Stephanie, is Stiagabu R. Frabcus. And you see the R? Well, her middle initial was A. But if you look, and I'll pull it up in a minute, at one point Stephanie used the R instead of an A. I don't know. I don't like to think that she ever did anything bad, but at this point I don't know. So now, what is the common thing these things have together? I'm very good at seeing patterns. You see this word og? See it right here? See that word og? Well, I'm Jewish, so I know that side of it. And I was also raised a Lutheran, so I know the Christian side of it. Og is a biblical character. It also has to do with the fallen angels. It has to do with the Nephilim. It has to do with a whole bunch of dark stuff. Why would Joe and Stephanie have these altar names? Altar is an interesting word because that 33 right there, that 33 is dealing with the right and left hemispheres of the brain. A female and a male merging. That makes what you call a Baphomet. Or a demon or whatever. It's a man and a woman combined. That's why at Halloween you always see the witch on a broomstick. Why? Because it represents a penis. It's androgynous. And this 33 is most definitely that. Hang on, I got more, way more. And what I'm giving you is just a minuscule amount of what's going on all the other discs. This is just between me and you. Let's continue. So, we see that word Og. Og in the Bible was a big dude, a real big dude. But really the Og were the Remphan. They were the offspring of the fallen angels. Which I'm sure is true. So I'm just giving you some examples here. Og, fallen angel. Why would somebody pick that, Paul? Why would somebody just mysteriously just pick the word Og and associate with fallen angel? Because that's exactly what it is. Now, on Netflix, there was a show called Fallen Angel, but a fallen angel there was on a show called Altered Carbon. Now, you would think of Altered Carbon, because it was about people. People are carbon. And you would think it would be altered, like the state of the carbon was altered, but it's not. Alter is referring to things in the mind. Things that usually happen to children when they're tiny and they get sodomized and raped. Yeah, that's where we're going with this. But hang on. Oh, and no, I'm not accusing you of that. I'm saying that's that's at the heart of this. So just so we're sure, this is the picture that Stephanie sent me about 3 weeks prior to whatever really happened there. And she said to me, I found this on Joe's phone, and I said, Stephanie, that's pedophile stuff. This picture here, Stephanie kept saying, that looks so much like Amy, and it does. I said, what were the lights from? And she said, it was from a school dance that they had that she took Abby to. I also find this to be weird. I'm not into men's cocks, but I've never seen a guy's dick, and I was a wrestler, so we had to weigh him naked. I never saw a man's dick that got wider as it went up. They don't tend to do that. Anyhow, so this is what she sent me, and as you can clearly see, here's a dick, here's a girl's face, but behind this is another little girl. See the top of her head? Who is this little girl that's behind there? That's interesting, isn't it? But wait. So in my search, my frantic search to try and figure out what the fuck happened, I ran across WJAR, which is a local TV station, and they did do some coverage, not much, but a little. And when I was watching the news footage of it, I stopped the video because I'm very good at catching things. And way in the background, and I pulled them out, you'll see, right where Joe supposedly crashed, and I say supposedly, this was this. Now let me ask you a question, Paul. Why would there be a big black X and a pentagram in the trees in the background? Now they weren't that size. I found them in the back. And again, being an expert in the occult, I know those symbols and I know what it is. So if you look over here, in this realm are the fallen. Gee whiz, didn't we just talk about Og, fallen angel? The letter PAL, X right here, express support. This Golden Dawn is lesser invoking ritual of the pentagram. So basically those two symbols together, what that is, it's like an amplifier. Like the terror or sadness that somebody would feel, that's like an amplifier back to the person. What's that doing there, Paul? And isn't it funny that it says, in this realm are the fallen? Wow, that's interesting because we just went over that. Well, hang on, we're not done. So if we look, here it is here, here it is here. Now if we look, now this character here, it was very interesting to me. This is the dude that Biden appointed to head up the, I guess they called him the monkeypox czar. If you're not aware of what monkeypox are, it's a sexually transmitted disease, usually amongst males. That means they were a little light in the loafers, Paul. But what's interesting in this case is that if you look at this sadomasochistic bondage shit he's wearing, see this here? Watch. Why does this dude have the exact same pattern on his chest that we find at Joe's accident? Not a mystery to me, and I'm sure it's not a mystery to you either, Mr. Silva. And it was when I found that's when I knew that everything that was said about that murder was bullshit. Because these symbols don't just show up. They're placed there with a purpose. Now, in my search, and I hope that you don't think that I just sat here for the last 4 or 5 months, just going, oh well. No. I spent every waking moment thinking of this and working on this. This face and the way that it's shot is particularly interesting because I knew I saw it somewhere and then it hit me. It's this. Now, if you're not internet savvy, Paul, you see that face on the right where it says shut up and dance? Basically what that is that's a troll, and that's a face that they would use if somebody was being fucked with. In other words, if you were aggravating somebody or lying to somebody and you're having a good time doing it, you would post that face. I find it really interesting that it's the exact replica of Amy's face. Interesting indeed. So let's move on here. We'll come back to this Og thing in a minute and what's on in the backyard at their house. Residents question why state police waited to release information about Hopkinton killing. Now, before we get to that, Paul, I find it really weird because you're about 7 years older than me. Okay? I saw enough stuff growing up, and you did too. You're a smart man. You're a successful businessman. And you raised a great daughter, by the way. I find this bizarre. I'm not talking about why the state police waited, because we know why. Because none of this has happened the way they said. They had to correlate the story. But this here, okay, I've seen enough stuff as an adult and a young man. Whenever there's a murder, and this is typical for the news, A, they show you the house. B, they show you the yellow tape. C, you see police cars. D, you see police standing outside. You see the ambulances, right? And you get little snippets of the neighbors and how they viewed the couple that was living there or whatever. None of that was ever shown. Why is it that they did not show the house? The yellow tape, police cars, ambulances, media, nothing. Nothing. So let's look here. Residents of South County are wondering why state police took nearly a day and a half to explain what happened following a homicide and search for an armed subject over the weekend. State police said 45-year-old Joseph Francis shot and killed his wife. I got a problem with that because I'll show you the text leading up to this. I was on the phone with her 25 minutes before she died. All she said is Joe was texting her, I've got him. There was no hate or animosity on either side. They weren't arguing. Joe owned guns. How did Joe own guns? Because he didn't have any violence in his background. Rhode Island is probably second to Illinois when it comes to being able to get a gun. And he definitely didn't have any domestics. So you're going to tell me that a dude that 20 minutes prior to that was talking to her about getting the no contact order lifted, right? And who had been staying in the house even after the no contact order had been issued, just all of a sudden just came in and shot her. And if I remember correctly, the police story said, oh, he came in through the back door and he left his key in the door and snuck up and came up the stairs and got in an argument with her, pushed her up against the wall and then shot her. How come all those other times when he was staying in the guest room downstairs overnight, he didn't go up and shoot her? Why this night? What was so different about this night? Because it didn't happen that way. And I'll tell you this, if he did do this shit, he didn't act alone. Amy Laska / Aaron Arnold are definitely involved in this. And why do I get the impression, Paul, that this has something to do with child pedophilia, a pedophile ring, or did somebody come to take her kids and she put up a fight and they killed her? Because Aaron Arnold is definitely a child trafficker, 100%. And believe me, buddy, all of his shit's going to the FBI. Now, it was 36 hours, and he drove around. This is rich. He drove around for 12 hours, right? And they didn't tell the public. And they said, well, finally they said, well, he wasn't on foot, so we didn't think we needed to alert the public. Oh, let me just jump backwards. So Joe's coming to the house to kill Stephani. Why would he go around the back and sneak up the back? Why would he do that? He has a key to the front, and if he's going in with a shotgun, he's already made up his mind he's going to do it. So why would he sneak? Because he didn't. They said he left his key in the back door. No, that's there so it implants the idea in people's minds that he did it. That's why they publicly on Facebook put the videotape of the domestic response by the police so that they could blame this on Joe. Look, I thought the guy was an asshole, and personally I told Stephani I'd come up there and beat the shit out of him. But she didn't want me to because she didn't want the headache. And I was afraid to do that because if I wasn't there and he retaliated, well, here we are anyway. So they said, well, he wasn't on foot, so it wasn't a problem. And they said they chased him, and they pinged him in Connecticut, and then he went down a dirt road really fast, but we don't chase people down dirt roads. Really? So you had the eyewitness of 3 children, this even gets better, that saw him shoot her at point blank range with a 12 gauge, and Stephani being 4'11", even if that was a 4'10", she would have been decimated. So I'm guessing it was a 12 gauge, right? Yeah? And so he just took off and was driving around, and he went down a dirt road really fast, and they said, well, we don't do that, that's not our policy. And then this is even better. They had to wait till the next day to get a warrant for his arrest. I have friends that are deputy sheriffs for many, many years. You don't have to have a warrant when you have 3 eyewitnesses that saw a woman get shot at point blank range. Okay, that's a felony. They could drive their cruisers into him at 120 miles an hour to stop him from hurting anybody else. Okay, so whoever wrote up this report is a fucking moron. Okay, this is bullshit. Something went on at that house that was very, very bad. And I told the Rhode Island State Police when they called me, I told them, I said, this story's bullshit. I said, there's a bigger story going on here. And you know what the police officer said? He said, you don't think we had anything to do with it, do you? Now, what cop would say that? You want to talk about implicating yourself, huh? That's interesting. You know, and this is even weirder because this kind of piqued my curiosity. A woman that's on my webpage, that's been with me since 2008, she got a hold of me and said, the state police from Rhode Island, where she lived, are going to call you. And I said, well, how do you know? And she said, well, they called me. And I said, well, wait a minute. How did they know to call you? And how she goes, well, everybody around here knows everybody. I said, yeah, but how would they know that you knew me? You see how crazy this thing is already? So he's driving around for 12 hours. He went down a dirt road. Did anybody stop to think about using Google Maps and going, okay, he went down this dirt road. We're going to put a trooper here. We're going to put a trooper at this end. He's not going to get out of here. And we'll wait him out until the morning. Well, that's not what the story says. Oh, and this is my favorite part. He comes out at 11 o'clock the next day, and he's doing 120 miles an hour, they said. And it's on a Sunday. And we live in a time and era that if you flip somebody off and they got a phone, they'll get a picture of you doing it. So he's going 120 miles an hour in Rhode Island with multiple jurisdictions chasing him, by the way, and there's not one bit of video. Amazing. Amazing. You would have all these squad cars with their lights flashing and sirens going, and not one person stepped out and took a picture. Not a fucking chance in hell. This thing reeks. Now here's a picture of Steph when she was on her way to work. I'm the one that talked her into getting the job at that bar where she got that job as a waitress. I told her, I said, well, if you're going to be going out on your own, you're going to have to become self-sufficient. And her friend told her that there was a place where she could get a job, and they offered, and she was kind of nervous, and I said, just go in there and be yourself. And she got hired, like I knew she would, and she did very, very well. I was very proud of her. You got to remember, Paul, her and I text each other and talked twice a day and text all day. I knew more about this than you'll ever know. I knew her inner thoughts. I knew everything. She lived with a narcissist freak, a guy that only cared about himself. She was so hungry for love, not sexual, just to be loved and to be cared about. You know, I came from a very, very hard background, Paul. My mom tried to kill me 2 times before I was 10 years old. Stephanie filled the spot in me that was missing my entire life. When she was taken out of it, I was utterly obliterated. I'd have lived on the street and worked and gave her every dime I had to keep her in that house and those kids fed and clothed. And she knew that. And just because she didn't come running up to you and going, Daddy, Daddy, there's some guy that really likes me. We kept it on the down low for a reason. There was no reason to rock the boat. It wouldn't have served any purpose if she would have come out and said, yeah, I'm talking to this guy and he's been out here and I really like him. And you see, I wasn't going to, this wasn't set in stone, Paul. I wasn't going out there to marry her. We agreed that after the divorce, I would come out and we would try it. You never know. Things work. Sometimes they don't. And that was it. And she said she was never going to bring a guy to the house within a year. So I knew all about Abby's school stuff. She didn't talk much about Cody because he was always with Joe. But I knew all about Abby. I got all kinds of pictures. She would send me the family stuff, the pictures, to me. She didn't give them to Joe. So that's a picture, nobody's got. This freak picture that you got of her at the memorial, and I'll bring that up, just so you know I had it analyzed, and it's a clone. You know what a clone is, Paul? It's where you can take a picture and manipulate it. And that's exactly what Amy Laska did, or Aaron Arnold. Because that money that was raised, I really, really hope you got it, but I got a feeling that this whole thing is a big scam and somebody made money off your daughter's death. So I'm going to give you a lesson here, Paul, in case you didn't know. So this is a picture off of her Facebook page. This hair color is not platinum. I don't know what the fuck this is. You see how she's got one eye showing here? You see this big tree that's got no bark on it that really looks kind of out of place. You see these sunflowers. See Abby, poor kid, sticking something in her mouth. Okay, so these are symbols that people put on Facebook for other people that are in the club to know that they're in the club. And so this is what's referred to as one-eye symbolism or Baal worship. This over here is referred to as an Asherah pole or an Asherah pole. Who is Asherah? Well, she's a sex goddess, for lack of a better word, but this is represented, this is a big dick. It's a big penis. Now you see in the backyard, you see the sunflowers? Those are referred to as the daisy of death. And the fact that the daughter, Abby, whom I adored, remember these pictures are taken in a specific way. You can tell that she's not looking at the camera because it's being shot at an angle above her head. Therefore, her eye would be looking up at the camera, and it is not. So that means somebody else took the picture or totally created. So Abby putting something in her mouth when it comes to pedophilia is indicative of oral sex. I do not think that Stephanie was involved in that type of stuff. I'm saying this picture is highly suspect. Now, let me give you a little story to go along with this. So this is an Asherah pole. These are the daisies of death. This is symbolizing pedophilia. Now, during the course of this stuff, as Stephanie started to get more and more confident, her and Joe were bumping heads a little bit. And Joe said, well, you know, Stephanie kept throwing in his face that he had been, fucking around on websites. And he told her out of spite, well, why don't you go on a dating website? So she did. And it's really interesting, the guy that she picked to go on a date with, isn't this guy's name is Ryan Gladue, another dickweed. Anyway, she said she went out with him twice. And I had told her, I said, listen, you're going to be free here shortly. I said, if you need to run around on the town and do whatever you need to do, go do it. I said, I'll be in the area when you want to settle down or whatever it is. Well, she wasn't big about running around and whoring around or anything, but she wanted to go out and have fun. So I didn't really have a problem with it. But what I got a problem with is, and this doesn't speak well of this whole thing, the guy that she picked, so let me just go grab that picture. Because you know why I went and investigated that guy? Because he made a mention of those 2 dates on your page. Because he wanted to know where the funeral was. Which incidentally, what was with the secrecy? You told half the fucking world where this memorial thing was, but you didn't tell anybody about the funeral. I don't know. I would have thought you'd want everybody there. So here we go. So this guy, Ryan Gladue, I started looking around at his shit. Because I had tried to get a hold of him after she died, supposedly, if she is dead. I don't know. And he wouldn't answer me. Another one that refused to talk to me. Amy Laska, you, this fucking guy. Yeah? So I get to looking at his page, and I told you I'm an expert at this. And so what do we see between these two pictures that has something similar? So why would you take a picture of your kid with sunglasses on in the forest? Yeah? Yeah? Next to a piece of wood right here. Right? You see it? Same thing that you got over here. He's in a defiant pose, and he's got a sucker in his mouth, just like Abby was sticking something in her mouth, because this is textbook pictures of pedophilia. Okay? You see, he's over here. Do you think that you would go to the mall with your kid and have him stand in front of a boutique with a rather lurid woman? Why? Well, because it's a fertility photograph, sex goddess, Asherah, which is the consort to Baal. This is Baal worship. This is an Asherah pole for sex. Do you understand? Yeah, I'm not making this stuff up. It's how it works, dude. Because somebody could look at Stephanie's photo, or this guy's, and they'd say, yeah, he's in the club. Sorry, it's the way it works. And this shit here is what caused her death or her murder. And that fuck that lives next door, and that other broad, which I'll get to that in a minute, they're at the heart of this thing. So here we see Paul. I looked on his page, and he said he went on an afternoon ride, and then he traced it out. And see what his buddy put? Brian Burns. I highly doubt that's a real person. Brian Burns, no, his asshole burns, because he went on an afternoon ride on this guy's dick. See it? You do see it, right? That's a dick. And then dude wrote that over there. Because this is how they have fun and they pass code back and forth. It's what they do. Sorry. See, this is taken off of Stephanie's Facebook page. Here's digging into the Bible's ancient Og god. See? Asherah. That's an Asherah pole. I couldn't understand for a while why Stephanie in 2008, when she was living in Netherlands, why she would have that picture. Why she would have that picture. And then it occurred to me, it all came together. The Asherah pole, they could use different type of trees, but they specifically like to use a pine tree. They used a pine tree. That was it was kind of like their logo. And I climb trees for a living. I've been doing it for 41 years. That's a pine tree in Stephanie's backyard. And the same thing with that dickweed, rump rider right here, Ryan Gladu. See him? That's why she took that picture. Because Stephanie's been into this for a long time. And I don't think she did it as a willing participant. I think somebody did something to her when she was very, very young. Real young. And you see that blank look on her face? Yeah, that's there because, it's there because she's not really all there. See? What that does is it programs a child's mind. Oh, listen, the shit I got on this Laska broad and this Aaron Arnold chick, they're going to prison. I can prove this shit beyond a doubt. So, Paul, let me show you how good I am at this. This is from Sandy Hook, which is up in your neck of the woods, ain't it? I was approached by somebody when I was up there with Stephanie, but that's for a different topic. You see this picture? This was supposed to be in the kids' room, Adam Lanza, that supposedly shot everybody up. No, nobody got shot up there. What they did do is they ritually sacrificed those kids. Anyway, so this was supposed to be in the kids' room. Now, I went to school for criminal justice. I didn't pass. I mean, I dropped out, but I do know that when they use evidence markers, that's what these are, yeah, that each one of these should have an evidence marker next to it, okay, and all of these, okay, so, but they're not. These are set up in a very specific type of pattern. And so what do we have here? It took me about a day and a half, and then I figured it out. So this was set out because this is a message to somebody. Okay? So here, I'll decode it for you. The key to the black comb circle bell tone, these are ear pods, is 432 hertz. This 11 that you see down here, 11 in the occult always represents the two pillars or a doorway. Those black magazines there for the gun, those are actually monoliths. And so to prove my work, just so you don't think I'm crazy, the 432, that's what's referred to as the divine feminine. It's 432 hertz. The black comb circle, see? See the black comb circle? The circumference of the circle at the black comb. Remember the bell right here? Of the Tower of Belus. Amazing, isn't it? It's really so amazing, Paul. So, I really should have worked for the CIA, actually. So when I tell you this shit about what's going on in Stephanie's backyard and this guy and all of this weird stuff, police not being, involved when they should have, it all lends credence to the story about her being murdered, is bullshit. Now, something may have happened to her, and even if Joe did shoot her, he didn't act alone. They made him out to be the bad guy because they were going through, supposedly, a divorce. So hang on. Oh, much more, Paul. Now, let's take a look at this. This is a great picture of Stephanie. That's the Stephanie I know. I don't know what this thing is over here. I do know that this would have been a picture from 2019 because she had it on in the picture on her Facebook dated 2019. Why does she look like a ghoul over here and over here she's full of life? What's going on? Because this is a bullshit picture. But I'm not there yet. Let me ask you a question. Who in the right effing mind would use this type of font? If that was red, it would look like something from a fucking slasher movie. Did you not catch that when you let Amy Laska? You know, there's something with an intermarriage between your families, the Silvas, and the Laskis. I looked it up. It's kind of, it's not hidden, but it's there. Stephani Francis. Doesn't that look like something from a murder movie? I mean, did you guys, really what happened there, Paul? Why don't you just come out and say it? Because I can tell from all of this, it ain't nothing what the police said. So, they ran this one first. That was interesting. And then about 3 weeks later, they ran this one. So you went from a beautiful, vibrant 44-year-old girl to a woman that looks like she's emaciated and about 65 or 70. Why would they do that? Well, I'll tell you why. You see this little number down here in the corner? See this? It says 73 people interested. Well, that's not the amount. That's not the number of the people that are interested. It's the type of people that are interested. 73. Remember John Wayne Gacy? Remember that, Paul? Remember it said he had 33 bodies in his basement. That wasn't the number of the people. That was the people that were into 33, which is, well, it's into, there's a lot of homo stuff involved in that. Lots of it. Anyway, so you see the 73 right there? You see this beautiful picture? You see this? First of all, Stephanie was 4'11" tall. Okay, even my size, 5'6½", I would have to get down on my knees to take a picture like that. And then to get her to look off in the distance, what would you tell her to do? Oh, Stephanie, look off into the distance. You ever see a movie, like at the end, they'll show a car, and they'll be up and above and behind, and you'll see a car driving off into the horizon. That represents like eternity or forever. So I took some cinematography, and that's what that is. So it's like she's looking off into heaven. That picture was created to pull the heartstrings of the people in the local area to make them want to spend more money. And I'm really wondering where that money went, because when you fuck with a picture like that, that means that everything else is bullshit. For instance, if you go into court and you testify, and on cross-examination they prove that you lie, everything you said has been struck from the record. And so the fact that somebody manipulated this picture means that everything else is bullshit. And the person that was in charge of that is her fucking next door neighbor. She used to text me from Amy's house. So I'm well aware who that cunt is. Anyway, so it's 73. So let me just show you what 73 is, Paul. So let's see the 73. I never saw this episode, but remember Josie and the Pussycats? In 1973, and I've seen that number come up a gazillion times since I started this by back in 2007. Josie wearing a bikini, there's your sex part, becomes possessed by Satan. And if we look here, the 1973 is here. See? There it is. 1973. Then we come over here. You see this here, Paul? See that? The 73rd demon from the Lesser King of King Solomon, from the Goetia, which is a book of demons. And it says right here, it turns out I'm going to fall to the dark side and become this demon's vessel. Wow. Wow. Then over here, 73, demon influence and demon possession. There's that number again, Paul. Wow, that's interesting, isn't it? Isn't that interesting? There it is there, but let me just grab this other one real quick. Mm-hmm. Now this is from your neck of the wood, and this is recent. Connecticut delegates. Wasn't it weird? That was more like, I watched that. It was more like a party. It wasn't even really political. Why? Because it's demonic is why. Oh, here, let me show you this. Just as a follow-up. So this is from the same convention. You see this woman here? See this broad with the finger up? Yeah, do you know what that finger is? It's the same as an Asherah pole. It's a dick. Here, let me show you how that's tied in. You see this picture? This is a famous picture. It's the Garden of Eden. You see what dude has here? See it? Can you make out what that is, Paul? It's a finger. It represents a dick. Because the Garden of Eden story was not about a man and a woman. It was about two children. That finger represents a dick. That apple is the fruit. That's when they knew the difference between good and evil. So I'm going to take you in another direction here in a second, Paul. Just remember that, to know the difference between good and evil. So this is another chick. She's Jewish too. She likes to speak in riddles, but I understand exactly what she's saying. So she says, this is about Stephani. In this ignorance economy, your friend will not gain anything from knowing the truth. Knowing is a sin. I'm going to show you what that sin is here in a minute. Kind of has something to do with this here finger. Knowing is a sin. So if she knows and she shares the truth, she will become the bad guy. Sharing means, well, you know, a little bit of rumpy-pumpy there, Paul. But both people involved in this tragedy have a registration as variable identity assets of the ghost army. They are tangentially, whatever, related to the Babbitt family. Ashley Babbitt, remember the one that supposedly got shot on January 6th, which really she didn't. Knowing. Let me show you what knowing is real quick. Knowing. Remember this song? ABBA, knowing me, knowing you. You see how it's mirrored? See how it's mirrored if you go draw a line straight down the middle? Right? You see that? So what this is when somebody gets done, basically screwed in the ass when they're a kid, and they become what's called mirrored. You ever watch The Shining? You remember the little kid in the mirror, Danny? Remember he had his finger up? Remember? In the book, Jack was sodomizing him. They didn't put it in the movie, but in the book. That's how you get illuminated. Because to get illuminated, you got to get lit up. And to get lit up, somebody's got to go up your third eye in the backside to open the third eye on the top. Okay? So this, knowing me, knowing you, yeah. If to know the truth, the word know comes from the Hebrew word yada. Remember Seinfeld? With George? His girlfriend came over and said, my ex-boyfriend came over yesterday, yada, 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 I'm real tired today. It's sex. So the mirrored part it's referring to anal sex, which is the big club that they're in. That's interesting, isn't it? Learning is fun, isn't it, Paul? Especially at my expense. When this fucking charade that's got put on here fucking mentally bankrupted me. Now this is a great picture. Here's a picture of Walt Disney. Now he had a thing for asses. Did you know that? Yeah, he was a sodomite. Walt Disney history and biography. But you know what's really interesting about this picture? Is this. See Mickey's hand? Yeah, let me explain something to you what Disney really represents, Paul. So Disney represents hell. The way that works is that everything's inverted. So Disney represents hell as in the case that the Magic Kingdom, that's literally what MK stands for in MK Ultra, Magic Kingdom. Because what hell is being stuck in a traumatic loop and never knowing how to get out of it or even that you're in it. So when they sodomize a little kid, the kid goes into his own mind, creates a fictitious world, which is what Disney is, with all kinds of characters, which are called alters. You know the song that they sing in Disneyland? It's a small world after all, because it's here in the mind, because it comes from sodomy. Here, let me just show you where they put that in a movie once. You'll remember, it's from our era, well, a little before. So if you watch here, the Marx Brothers were Jewish, and they were definitely into that stuff, because it's like, it's part of their covenant, so to speak. So anyway, listen what Groucho says in this next one. Watch.
Uruguay and I'll go mine.
Now what? He's looking at the guy's ass. Now listen to what he says. Remember what I said about the small world? It comes from the act of sodomy.
Fancy seeing you here. Well, it's a small world after all.
Boogie, boogie, boogie.
Yeah, you see that? You see how that works, Paul? See, and they love to flaunt that shit in front of people's faces because they know you don't know, but you do now. Maybe you knew before, I don't know. All I do know is that Stephanie somehow got linked up into this weird shit. And I think she got all kinds of multiple alters. And I know that Joe did because the chick that was screwing him on the side when Stephanie didn't know about it, Hillary Abramson, she told me straight out that Joe was definitely into anal. And if he was, that means he was doing your daughter the same way. And I'm not so sure that somebody didn't get to Stephanie when she was a kid. So, if we look here, and I just wanted to show you this again. I almost forgot. Here's the kid. This is all pedophilia. It's interesting that this mark shows up where this kid is, right where Joe was. So I'm going to draw this for you so you can see it. Or I'll circle it first. Right there in red. See it? You see the pentagram on the ground in the shadow? And then you got the Asherah pole here. See it? You see it, right? And there's the pentagram right there. Should I draw it out for you? They always try and slip this shit in like this. That goes there. And then this one goes here, right? And then this one comes across at an angle like this. And then this is shooting down here like this. And then you got, what they did is they came here like this. See it? See that this is what's referred to as witchcraft, Paul, in case you didn't know. And I know your neck of the woods is full of that shit. Full of that shit. And I know that Amy Laska and Aaron Arnold are big into it. And wherever there's witchcraft, Paul, there's children. There's children, always, Paul. Anyway, so here we have the finger. Now, this is a woman. Nice hands, huh? You wouldn't want that wrapped around your privates, would you? Looks a little bit demonic. So there's the finger, which represents a penis. This is what's referred to as the dragon's claw. Represents mother, the devil. Satan is the male side, she's the female side. The two of them together make a Baphomet, also known as a transgender. That's why they're pushing that. So you see how she took the picture? So you got the male and the female. It's the two sides of the brain combined. And what do we got? She's taking a picture of it in the mirror. Mirror, Paul. Get it? Means somebody did her. She's in the club. Like I said, learning is fun, isn't it? Except not at my expense when you take the love of my life and you remove her. And I just want to show you how weird this shit actually gets, Paul. Were we talking about fallen angels? Yeah? You see that license plate? That was parked in front of my car at 4:30 in the morning when I was getting ready to go to work. I know what this is. In the UN prayer room, there's a big black cube that represents the planet Saturn. And as you can see, the Nissan logo looks just like that. I've done 14,000 videos covering this very subject. But what's interesting is they like to play this game. Now the cube that's in the UN prayer room, which is Saturn, which has been on the tree of life, the devil, right, the female aspect. Look what it puts here. Let's look at this. Let's look at this. Don't you think this is hilarious? As soon as I saw that, I started laughing. Because they like to do this. 3333, God. Okay. So what is that? Well, I knew right away. Well, it's latitude and longitudinal. It's where the lines cross. Guess what's there? A place called Mount Hermon, where the original fallen angels. There's that name again, Paul. Just like I showed you with Stephanie, fallen angel, known as the Nephilim, or fallen ones. Isn't that interesting? And you see this picture here, this turquoise color? You'll see that in masonry a lot. I don't like to beat up on the Masons because most of them are good guys and they're just trying to network. But, you know, the joke, if you take Judaism out of Masonry, what's left? Nothing. Because this goes back to the Talmudic Jews. And the number 6, see the number 6, Paul? You see it? So 6 is the number of the man of lawlessness. There's your pedophilia. And there's your 333 Mount Hermon fallen angels. Oh, and what's interesting here, it says it's in Psalm 133, which is interesting. That number is so interesting. You know why, Paul? Because you live at 133. Old Saybrook Road, ain't it? Right? You live at 133. And you know what's even more interesting is that Amy Laska's email is MissAmy133@gmail. Isn't that so amazing, Paul? But what are the odds? You know what 133 stands for? Let me just bring that up for you. See, and this is where you live. Is it 133? I'll say real quick. Well, you got to live somewhere. Sorry about that, Paul. Phone rang. We were just discussing this whole thing that we're talking about right here. So, the 133, you see, it's Enochian magic. Well, who was Enoch? Enoch was the guy that was involved with these guys, the fallen angels. See, 133, 133. So that's very interesting. So whoever parked in front of me was part of the club. It's just a real subtle way of saying we're here and we're watching you, and that's cool because I'm watching you too. And again, I find it funny that this is Psalm 133 dealing with Mount Hermon, and Enochian magic dealing with the fallen angels in Mount Hermon is 133, and you live at 133, and Amy Laska's email is missamy133@gmail. Do you understand how patterns work, Paul? I hope you're starting to catch on here, because this is how I see shit. And so I'm running out of time on this disc, so I'm going to start up the second disc here in a few minutes, and we'll be talking to you real soon here. So get ready to load disc 2. You look like you're drinking, man. Go get yourself a bourbon on the rocks or a gin and tonic, whatever you drink, and we'll continue with disc 2. Okay, Paul, so we're starting on disc 2. I'm sorry I didn't show you this before to prove my work. So I told you this is 432 hertz. That's referred to as the divine feminine. Bad dreams from 432 hertz. Okay, it's demonic frequency. See, you can learn a lot by just reading album covers and stuff like that. And it's a symbol of divine suffering. The feminine image of God in temporality. Because, let's put it this way. You ever heard the phrase, or you ever use it, for the time being? You'll say, well, for the time being. Did you ever ask yourself who the time being is, Paul? Well, it's her. It's Mother, the devil. She's the time being. She's the one that runs the show here while you're doing a life sentence. Oh, but what I wanted to show you is here. Now, this is from the Sandy Hook thing. Same thing this is. And here's the mother, and here's the kid. And what does it say? The black comb circle. See the O? And it says, it's precious, mother and son X. Just like the X that we found in the trees where Joe crashed. Isn't that amazing? No, it's not, because this whole thing was a fucking setup. This is why I have some real problems, Paul, with all of this stuff. Because I can read this shit like a schematic. Okay? And I'm really, really good at it. Divine suffering, Sandy Hook, this thing with Stephanie, her kids. Let me ask you a question. Did somebody come in and try and take her kids? Is that why she got shot? You know, they do have a thing called the Ghost Army. I'll get to that in a minute. But I just wanted to show you, I wanted to be very thorough and show you that I know what I'm talking about. It took me about, half a day to figure out what that code was on that desk, which tells me that there wasn't some guy with an AR-15. You know what an AR-15 is, Paul? That is an augmented reality program 15. Kind of like what's going on here. See, what augmented means is it's real, but it's not. Let me put it in another way. When a woman gets her breasts augmented, they're real, but they're not, are they? They're really breasts, but they're not really her breasts, so to speak. Something happened to Stephanie, but not really the way you said. And so I make this promise to you, sir. Whether she's in a casket, in an urn above your fireplace, or she's walking around with another identity, whether that was implanted, or whether she's running some scam, or whatever the fuck it is, I will find her. Oh, no. Make no mistake. It's not to get back with her or I'm still in love with her. No. If I saw her today, I would give her a big hug and a kiss, and I'd tell her, I'm glad you're okay. And I would tell her, you gotta go. Because that shit almost killed me about 25 times over. And because of it, I will never, ever have another girlfriend or another woman in my life. Not only did I promise Stephanie that if I ever lost her, there would never be another. I will never give whatever organization or opportunity an opportunity to do that to me again, to somebody I love. So if this thing was created or whatever it was to broadside me and destroy me, you came that close. I mean, within millimeters of destroying me. Had I not understood the occult the way that I do, and I could see the flaws in the story and the things that are surrounding the story, yeah, I would have been gone. But I can see it, and I can see there's another story, and it's very evil and it's dark, and there's kids involved, and I'm guessing there's a pedophile ring in there because there's some other characters I'm about to bring up. So, Paul, remember how everybody made a big deal about the eclipse? You notice it's got the six-pointed star around it? The six-pointed star is the talisman of Saturn. Saturn is a Death Star. But if you go back in the antiquity, you can read where Philobiblos said, Saturn, whom the Phoenicians called Israel. The two biggest child traffickers on this planet is Israel and the Ukraine. Two really big names in the news right now. Anyway, you see the eclipse? Yeah, well, the Star of David, what they call this, David didn't have a star. What it is his asshole. So, to become part of the Illuminati, okay, you got to get illuminated. And so you see here, nice ass, right? That's J-Lo. This is the right side of the brain, or the left side of the brain. This is the right side. They're diametrically opposed in every aspect. One's male, one's female. The female is in the white, or is in the black. The male is in the white. When you combine the two through anal sex, and they usually do that, either ritualistically, where a person is ready, or through sodomy, rape on a child, what happens is you got to open this third eye to open this third eye. See that? And you see the blood on her face. Now that'll come in here in a minute. How this all makes sense. So through the act of sodomy, it creates a somewhat of a singularity where the two sides become one. That's incidentally what 9/11 really represented. The two sides of the brain, Tower 1, Tower 2. First Jewish temple, second Jewish temple. They both fall down. What happens? They put one up. It's symbolic of the two sides of the brain merging. And once you get locked into that system, buddy, you ain't getting out. So let me just go get some other pictures here for you, because we're going to start getting into the meat of it now. This is just a precursor. So let's look at this, Paul. This is interesting. So here's old Amy over here, murder. And this broad, it's interesting because this girl's last name is Silva too, her married name. Funny that Stephanie Silva, this Silva broad right here. Anyway, these two, you can see where it says the post has been removed. It says the post object you were commenting on has been removed by its owner and is no longer commented on. Now, both of these characters, I made a statement, and in about 5 seconds, both of them, they didn't just delete the comment, they deleted the whole topic. It was gone so nobody could read it. And I'll show you what I said. So it's the Stephani Francis Slasher Memorial, right? And it says, this girl says, I'll bring a gift card for my store and I'll bring it with me next weekend. And then you can see I got a picture of Stephanie right there, right? I said, I'd like to donate Aaron Arnold's name and the pedophile ring up there that's going on that led to Stephanie's murder. Now, watch here. I posted that on Thursday, October 3rd, when I was down in West Virginia in Alderson at 4:30 in the afternoon. You can see it right there, Paul. The memorial was coming up on the 5th, and I was planning on going. And so, about 11 o'clock on the night of the 4th, one day later, the West Virginia State Police called me up and said they were impounding my car. And I was kind of groggy because I was half asleep, and I couldn't really make out what they were saying. So then I went back to bed. Phone rang again about 15 minutes later. It was the West Virginia State Police, the headquarters. Well, they wanted to they said they had a summons they needed to give me. And I was like, well, for what? And the guy was super insistent on getting it to me. And I was like, this high fever pitch you've got about finding me and giving me a summons, I said at 11 o'clock at night, it sounds more like to me you've got an arrest warrant. And he goes, no, it's not an arrest warrant. And he said, I'd really like to get this to you. And I said, no. I said, in the morning. And he goes, well, my boss really wants. I said, I don't care about your boss. So I said, I'll meet you at the address at 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock in the morning, West Virginia State Police. Well, before that, when I went over there in the morning, my car was gone. And so I called up the police station, and the chief answered. Really nice guy. Really, really nice Southern hospitality type dude. And I said, Chief, did you guys tow my car? And he goes, no, we didn't tow it. Let me check and I'll find out. He called me back about 10 minutes later, and he goes, no, we didn't take it. He said the FBI and the West Virginia State Police have a file open on you. And I said, for what? He goes, I don't know. They said they took it because there was guns in the vehicle. I said, I don't have any guns down here. He goes, well, that's what they said. And he goes, just so you know, the FBI instructed us to keep an eye on you for the last week. This was interesting that he told me this. And I said, keep an eye on me for what? He goes, I don't know. We just kept tabs on you, and we just told them you kept going back and forth to work. So, okay, 8 o'clock rolls around. The FBI pulls up. I said, what is this all about? And they said, well, we got a restraining order so that you can't be around any of your firearms, and it was probably for 6 months, I think. And I said, from what? This is classic. So the call came out of Rhode Island to Illinois. Illinois sent it down to West Virginia, and they found me in Alderson, a real tiny little town. But what's interesting about that is the one person that signed the complaint was an officer in Naperville, where I lived in Illinois. See, so that kept the name of the actual complainant in Rhode Island off of it. And so basically, I asked the FBI agent, I said, what did you take my car for? And he said, well, it's got bullets in it. And I said, well, we're in West Virginia. Every car's got bullets in it. And he goes, no, you got a restraining order, so you can't be around any bullets. I was like, well, why didn't you just take the bullets then? I mean, you were able to get into the car to tow it. Why didn't you just grab the bullets? And they said, well, blah, blah, whatever. And so while I'm talking to the FBI agents, the phone rings, and the lady FBI agent says, yeah, he's here and he's cooperating. I'd like to know who the fuck she was talking to, and why am I so special? You know why I'm special, Paul? Because I know there's a pedophile ring operating up in there, and they were scared to death that if I showed up at that memorial, I was going to blow the cover. And believe me, I would have. Okay? Because nothing was going to stop me from doing that. And believe me, they didn't stop me. All they did was slow me down. And so they took my car, and they had it for a week. And I called them up and I said, listen, I want the stuff out of my car. And they said, well, you can't because it hasn't been released. And I said, okay. And they were really scared, buddy. Really scared that I was going to leave. They waited to the last possible second to grab that car so I couldn't make it up there. That was all staged. If it was anything else, they would have come and got me a week before. So the tow truck company says, no, it hasn't been released. We can't do that. I said, well, then, you know what? You just keep that car. 1 minute later, I mean, literally, phone rings. Oh, it got released. Oh, it did, huh? I said, in 1 minute. They said, yeah. I said, what's the damages? They said, well, it's a $500 bill, but we'll just give it back to you for $150. I said, uh-huh. Since when? Besides lawyers, the most ruthless people on the planet are tow truck drivers and companies. They never give you shit back for free. So I said, well, you towed it in there. It's got to be towed back out. And they said, oh, yeah, we'll throw that in for free. And I said, you know what? You ever read any Shakespeare, Paul? You know, in Macbeth, when he goes, I think the lady doth protest too much. You know what that means? You're guilty, but you're pleading so much and so loudly that you're not guilty that you become guilty just from the ruckus. This screamed, that the FBI had it in an impound lot, and more than likely they put a tracker on it. And I did not want that car back, and guess what? I never did get that car back. I went to get my stuff out of the car when they released it, and it's still there to this day. And guess what was in the car, Paul? Let me just show you here real quick, because it's really kind of funny. Hang on. So let's take a look here, Paul. Guess what's in the car? Guess what's still in the car? The bullets are in exactly the same spot that they were when they towed it. Now, if they didn't want me to be around guns and bullets, I don't have any guns. I didn't have any guns in West Virginia. Don't you think? Now that's in the trunk. If you went through the trouble of opening the trunk, and I don't know how you could have because you didn't have the key. Or yeah, you did have the key. Why didn't you remove the bullets? Because, I mean, for whatever reason, they should have been removed. And you should have said, when the restraining order's up, you can come back and get them. But you didn't. They left them in there. You know why? Because it was never about any of that shit. It was about making sure that I didn't get there to expose the pedophile ring in that area. Don't worry, it's going to happen, buddy. Hook or crook. If it takes me the rest of my life or it costs me my life, that shit's going to come to light. The rubber's going to meet the road, and the world's going to know what the fuck is going on up in that part of town. You know, the girl that was screwing Joe, her and I had a nice long conversation for about an hour and a half. I only talked to her twice. Briefly the second time, but an hour and a half the first time. And she said the same thing to me that I had thought. And she said, I'm not even really sure these people are dead. And neither am I. Neither am I. Because this reeks. This reeks. They were so scared that I was going to show up there that they actually impounded my car. The excuse that they used, they didn't even follow through with it to make it look real. The people that I accused being pedophiles pulled their shit off of Facebook in 2 seconds. You know, so you kind of, they kind of admitted that's what's going on. But yeah, you do notice, if you look closely at these bullets, you see those marks on those bullets? You know why? Because those had been in my car for a long, long time. Moisture does that. And you see this box here, Paul? Those are 45 shells. Kind of expensive for 250. You see the box, how it's all beat up? You know why? Because it had been in my trunk for at least 6 months. Because I work in different states, you know. Never took it out. Wasn't going to go up there and do anything. So the fruitcakes up there, the pedophiles in Rhode Island got a hold of Chicago, where my home address is, had a police officer fill out the complaint when I wasn't even there. That was 1,000 miles away in West Virginia. Fax it down to the FBI and the CIA, or I mean the FBI and the West Virginia State Police, and then sit and wait and watch me. And then at the last second come in and steal my vehicle on the 4th, so I couldn't get up there on the 5th. You know what their last question to me was, Paul? What are you going to do today? Oh no, I educated them on all of this shit here. And I showed them a lot of stuff. And they said, you've got a lot of really good information here that you need to get to the FBI. And I said, but you're the FBI. You know what they said? You need to get it to Rhode Island FBI. I won't go anywhere near Rhode Island FBI because that state is so corrupt with their witchcraft and your bullshit. But that leaves me 49 other states to go to? Because I know that there's something very, very dark about all of this. Real dark. Okay, just a minute, we'll continue. Now this was interesting. I kept running across this over and over and over again. Stephani Francis. Why is it in French, Paul? I know Stephani was a French. Matter of fact, Silva, it does have some roots in Judaism, but it's a Portuguese name, I think, predominantly. Why would Stephani's obituary be in French? The only place that's French around here is over the border, and that would be French Canada. Something going on up there, Paul? Maybe some international child trafficking, do you think? Because that's what I think. That's what I think so much. You know what I mean? Hang on. Let's look here. This is this Jewish girl that I know. We both say the same thing. She just likes to do it cryptically. I just blurt it out. But both people involved in this tragedy have a registration as variable identity assets of the Ghost Army. I'll explain to you what that is in a minute. They are tangentially related to the Babbitt family, see Ashley, and the presidential bloodline. They are the grandchildren of the Quebec Accord. Wow, look. Stephanie's obituaries in French. Quebec. Isn't Quebec French? Let me just go look. Let me just do a fact check on that. Yep, just had to check. So it is French. So let's see, my Jewish friend here. Remember, I'm Jewish, so I can say that stuff. Oh, and just so you know, this has ritual child murder written all over it. Like they did a big thing on that night. That's what really went on, and they never told anybody about Joe running around with a shotgun because, well, Joe didn't have a shotgun, did he? And just like I told the Rhode Island State Police, this is a front for a bigger story. But let's read on. They are tangibly related to the Babbitt family, see Ashley, and the presidential bloodline. They are the grandchildren of the Quebec Accord. That has to do with immigration. They were here it is. They were a necessary link in a dastardly plot. And in the nick of time, they were removed from the playing field in the usual way and easy way. A murder-suicide. See, how do you get two people out of the area without people noticing? Well, if it's a murder-suicide, then there's no bodies, is there? So, here, let's just get rid of this. I just want to show you this here real quick, and then I'll show you what a ghost army is. So, this is in French, right? And just like the other woman said, the Quebec Accord type thing. And I know this. This is Stephanie's email. You know how I know that? Because I emailed her songs constantly. Every night when she was drinking her wine, I was sending her emails with links to songs. Relatives, Alexander Silva. I know her brother's name is David. I don't know who Alex is. But why is your wife's name Denise A. Silva? See, I keep seeing this merging with Stephanie. Well, why do the two of them have the same... They'll use the name Denise A. Silva and they'll put, 32680, blah, 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 blah. And it's, what's going on here? Is the mom fronting for Stephanie? Or she couldn't be because she'd be too old. Or is Stephanie using the mom as a alias? Well, it doesn't matter, does it? So let's move on here, and I'm going to show you what the Ghost Army is. And so what's funny about all of this is, so here's what a Ghost Army is. You see this? This is from a movie called St. Elmo's Fire. I'm sure you remember it, Paul, don't you? You see this on the wall? This is referred to as the Seal of Light, the Seal of Solomon, and the Seal of Saturn. You see it? So if you draw a line right here through the center, this is the as above, so below. One's a reflection of the other one. One's the real one. The other one appears to be real, but it's not. So if you look at this is from the video of the song St. Elmo's Fire. You see these characters here? These guys here? You see them, they're all translucent? Because those were created in his head. That's what the Ghost Army is. In his head, while he was getting pounded from behind. More than likely as a child. And so when that happens, I told you the child recedes into their own brain. They create these characters. And these characters basically take over their life. So basically what they're called is alters. So you can have multiple alters. And so, I'll just give you, for instance, let's just say Stephanie. See the blank look on the face? See the blank look on the face? There's the seal. You can program a child with multiple alters, and none of the other alters will know that they're there. But they have trigger words that they can pull them out. So the government got caught doing that shit. It's really ancient stuff, but they called it MK Ultra. Well, MK stands for Magic Kingdom. Remember, it's a small world after all, right? And so this is what this is. He is all of these characters. You just have to have the trigger word to bring them out. So let's take a look at Stephanie's picture here that she sent me. Not that one, hang on. 1 second. So if we look, this is the picture that Stephanie sent to me, see? I've got a bunch of pictures that you probably never saw yourself. You see, nobody's home. Look at her face. She's blank. You know why? She's not daydreaming. She's not there. She's not there. That tattoo on her shoulder tells the whole story of this og and this shit that's going on in her head, the same thing that's going on in this guy's head. See the seal right there? And what creates this is from that sexual act, because it's so horrific. But while they're doing it, they're implanting altars. Now again, I'm not accusing you, Paul, of doing that. I'm telling you somebody did something to this girl. And I'm an expert at this stuff. You know, when the FBI came down there, by the time they left, I was educating them. This has the whole telltale sign of that shit going on. So let's take a look again. Oh, poor things at Sandy Hook. You know what's missing from this, Paul? There's no tears. Oh, but the mom, who's a member of the club, yeah? She showed up dressed in her own black and white. Because you know what they did to them kids in there? They ritualistically raped them. That's what happened. And the reason it was such a big deal is they have to do that. Same thing they did at Waco when they burned those kids alive. Yeah, that's a real Holocaust. You know what Holocaust is, Paul? The actual description? A Holocaust is a burnt sacrifice or offering. It's also when you're raping a kid in the asshole, as you can find in Genesis 22:2. And the Lord told, who was it? Was that Isaac? Yeah, maybe Isaac, whatever. Take your son up to Mount Moriah, the mountain of vision, and there offer him up as a Holocaust. Interesting word. Didn't say anything in there about a bunch of Jews in a penned up area, did it? Those kids were ritualistically raped. That's why there's reports of these kids walking around today. You know why? Because they were altered carbon. They were programmed. They weren't killed. Their personality was destroyed, and they were altered. They were different mindset, different characters. This stuff is dark, Paul. I'm assuming you don't know any of this, but you know what? You might be part of it. I don't know. All I know is the girl that I loved, I can't find her. And even in the effect that she really is dead, again, I'm going to state this very plainly for you. It did not go down the way they said. Your pictures that she posted, that murderous bitch, of you smiling and your wife smiling and David smiling and all of those other people smiling and the kids, you're going to tell me in the police report that those kids were standing 10 feet away and Joe pushed her up against the wall and shot her in the chest with a shotgun, and any of you people would be smiling 3 or 4 months later? Do you take me for a fucking idiot? Those kids would be traumatized for the rest of their life. You know what I did on the night of the 3rd? Remember I showed you the night of the 3rd, the afternoon when I made that comment and they pulled the shit down off of Facebook? You know what I did that night? I was so distraught over her death. I picked the table up and I tried to throw it through the fucking kitchen wall. How is it that I was so emotionally distraught and destroyed, but you guys are smiling like you just came from a family reunion? Because either you're fucking demented, you were in on it, or it's a fake picture. I don't know which one of the three it is, Paul, but nobody could be smiling like that. And those are genuine smiles. Or the fourth thing is that they took fake pictures that were taken before from another time, and they used them to front like they were at the memorial. That's it. And one way or another, buddy, I'm going to find out which one of those fits you guys. Because this about killed me, and it became personal. I don't want Stephanie back. Even if she called me up on the phone and said, look, I got kidnapped, here's what happened. I would be so happy, I would probably burst into tears. But I would say, you got to go on with your life, man, and I'm not part of it. But what you did to me here, turning your back on me, and all of you people screamed guilt right from the beginning. I'm the last person to talk to your daughter, except for the people that killed her. And you don't want to talk to me at all to know what my relationship with her was. You know how many people I asked? And they all said, of course we'd want to talk to you. But you don't. Which leads me to believe you might have your fingers in the pot here, Paul. A lot of witchcraft and stuff involved in this. Now, this murdering bitch, and this child trafficking cunt over here, yeah, You notice how remarkably similar they are? One's got bangs, but the other one, her hair's just pushed over. It looks a little bit younger. It's really amazing, the similarities, because Stephanie knew both of these people. This is Aaron Arnold, a.k.a. Aaron Austerlitz. This is Amy Laska, as you know, a.k.a. murdering bitch. You know I'm sending this shit to the FBI, don't you? And I mean all over the United States. And I'm going to send it to the churches, and I'm going to send it to the supermarkets, and I'm going to send it to Congress, and I'm going to send it, I already have an order for 5,000 CDs. And I'm sending it to everybody and anybody. So I'm not personally going to bring you up in it. I don't think that's important. But all the information I'm showing you here, I will. Because somebody out there knows something, and somebody might say, I saw that girl walking around yesterday. Or they might say, I was at the park on the 5th and there was no memorial. And if nothing else, it's going to pique a lot of curiosity on all the weirdness around this thing. Ain't that interesting? Wow, isn't this fun, Paul? So here, let me just read this to you here real quick in the way it's supposed to be. The Rhode Island opens each year on Christmas Day. Christmas Day, that's what you call it. What it really is a thing called Saturnalia. What is Saturnalia? The Phoenicians said what? Oh, Saturn, whom the Phoenicians called Israel. But what Saturnalia was, right? What was it? Saturnalia was a big orgy. It involved murder of children, raping of kids, all kinds of stuff. Went on for a while. Still going on. Still going on. And then what does it say? Christmas Day to throw a huge Christmas pizza party. And this is from a book called The Secret Pizza Party. And do you know that they refer to pizza as a symbol for pedophilia? What's interesting here, right? Actually, let me go grab one other thing. So, the pizza, here's the seal of Saturn. I showed that to you. Here it is from the Manson murders, which didn't happen either. So let me just outline this for you real quick there, buddy. Let's use this. See, they think they're slick. See, it says secret handshake. I don't know if you can read that, Paul. They think they're slick, but they're not. They're stupid, right? See, in this zigzag, that's another logo they use. You notice the sleeves are in Israeli blue and white? Yeah. And if you go like this, and you go like this, we bring this down the way down here like this, and then you run this across like this, you notice you get the 6-pointed star of Saturn. Anyway, but that's the seal. See, there's the seal right there, and here it is here. As above, so below. That's from the Manson murders. And if you look real close, Paul, look here. If you look real close, that you think that looks like a clover, but it's really it's 2 3s, it's 33. And 33 happens what? That happens when you get it up to yin yang and it creates a fictitious world in your head. Like I told you, Magic Kingdom. The Manson murders didn't never happen. Charles Manson would be Charlie Mason. Again, this AR, this doesn't say war. This is the seal. Here, I'll show you, Paul. Look here. If you draw a line across here like this, see it? That's the above, that's the below. And the purpose is that they do that to the kids because they put them in a false state of mind. In other words, they're damning them to hell because they get stuck in a trauma loop that they can't get out of. And Disney represents hell. And you know what the funny part about that is, Paul? Is not only are people not trying to get out of that fucking thing, but they're standing in line and buying tickets to get in. Comical, isn't it? So here's the seal here. Here's the seal here. Let's see. 1 second, Paul. There you go, Paul. That's a train car pile up. And I think that was in Wisconsin, what, like a year and a half ago? Just a few things here. Do you really think that trains crash and make the seal of Saturn like that? Do you think they do that? Or do you think that might be somebody trying to tell you something? There. You think? Oh, and this is my favorite part of it. The pink, yellow, and blue, that's the divine feminine. That's 432 hertz, the frequency. See that right there? You see that eye? Well, that eye is your asshole. It also has to do with being the observer in this reality, trying to figure out what is reality and what is not. But they do it so that they put the kid in a state of a fake reality and they don't get out of it. And they can be manipulated, which I'm getting to that stuff, which absolutely proves 100% that this chick is tied in, probably with the CIA, looking at the size of it. So hang on. So this is a secret handshake. This is a kid's book, by the way. Oh, hang on. So let's go back a little bit. So they have a pizza party for kids who are in local orphanages and foster homes. Well, why those kids? Well, because they get lost in the system. Nobody cares because nobody even knows who they are. Or otherwise involved in youth and family services, which is a horrendous thing that they've used for years to kidnap kids and murder them. The goal is to offer kids a Christmas that they wouldn't otherwise have or otherwise want. Our park in Richmond hosts meet and greets for prospective adoptive parents and children in foster care. Those aren't prospective parents, those are prospective buyers. Those are prospective buyers, Paul. So let me just pull this up real quick. Yeah, so here's a secret pizza party, and you notice they have a raccoon, and he's got his finger over his mouth, like, don't say anything. You see, I told you yellow and pink. Yellow and pink, you see these colors, that's always sex and violence. That's the code for that. See the mask? This is James Alafante. He was on Hillary Clinton's staff, I believe. Notorious pedophile and child murderer. See, it says Jimmy Comet. It's Hebrew. It's Jimmy Comet. It's all ritual sacrificing of children and raping them and fucking them or whatever. But you notice he's got the mask on. And here's your good friend Biden. Why is he there with the panda bear? Because there's a thing called the panda virus, which is just a bunch of horny old men that like to fuck little kids, is what it is. That's what all of this is. Oh, and when I get done with this thing with you, and this thing with Stephanie, I'm going after this fucker right here. And he's going to have an ultimatum. You either pull them fucking books off the shelf or I'm going to do it for you in a very legal and definite way. See this here? See? This is all pedophilia. This is what's going up at Stephanie's house. That's why she sent me the picture of the dick on the phone. I think it was her very, very kind and subtle way to say, don't come up here. It's not safe. So let's continue. So here, Paul, look at here. So this is her pictures of her thing. These are staged photos. So let's just look. Now, if you just take an X here, whoops, all right, 1 second. If you take and put an X here like this, and then we put another X next to it, watch here, right there, and then we make another X here. You see what you get, Paul? You get the seal. It's 2 X's. In chromosomes, it's a female, because it's mommy. So if we look here, these pictures are shot this way on purpose. You see? Oh, this is my favorite. That's the seal there. And then these were taken on purpose like that. There you go. You get to see it that way. These are taken on purpose. Oh, and this guy here, you know why he's doing that? Watch here. Why his head is like that? Because this is this. I'll show you. It's off a Steely Dan album cover. See that? And then we'll just take this. And I'll use black. You'll see it here in a minute. It's supposed to be the eye, basically. I'll show you where they do that in the Steely Dan album cover. Just think how much fun you and I could have had, man, if we didn't have to go down this road. I really think you and I would have probably hit it off pretty good because we're probably pretty much from the same era. But you chose to turn your back on me for whatever reason, man. Because you're involved in this or whatever. But, yeah, hang on. You see the kid right there, the way he's holding his head? You see this is from a Steely Dan album? You see the eye right there? And then there's a triangle. That's what the kid's doing. Steely Dan. The Tell Dan Steely. Let's continue here. Quickly. So just quickly, Paul. You see this? The secret pizza party? See how he's on the outside looking in? And then I want you to look at the picture behind it. See the position of the hands? This is the dragon's claw. The Detroit Jewish News. Oh, looky there. They look exactly the same. And this is Pilate. Makes me think that Pilate was one of the Red Sea pedestrians. Because there it is. That's the dragon's claw. But what I wanted you to see is this is when Jesus was brought up in front of Pilate. And there's a dude up there doing it. There's a guy there doing it. Here's this fruitcake doing it. This one I love the most. See the finger? Annie's doing it. Chick with a dick, right? You're going to love this one, Paul. Look here. This is one of my earlier findings. Black Lives Matter. See the shadow? There's no... This is how they pass stuff off in the news. See? There's no shadow. Why? Because it's making this right here, which is the devil, mommy, whatever you want to call it. And that's why they're using it in the secret pizza party, because it's them that are doing it, you know, right here. And just so you get it, see Miley Cyrus right here? Got her arms up just like this and this and this guy. That's all part of Baal worship. All part of the big sodomy club. See a little girl here eating pizza, which is a symbol for pedophilia? See it? See it? The one eye closed? Just like Stephanie with her one eye in the picture. The pizza here, see it? Not making it up, Paul. See this here, Paul? See old Tom Hanks? He's with Oprah and that girlfriend of hers. You see up here? See the pizza on the wall? See how he's got a black eye? Well, that's just another way of doing the one eye symbolism. And what does it say? I am not allowed to talk. Interesting. And you see the way his hand is curled? That's referred to. That's just another symbol for the dragon's claw. Just another position. If you see four of them, that's the lion's paw, which is all Israeli stuff. See it? Right there, buddy. I'm not making it up. I told you I'm an expert on this stuff. I live this day in and day out. Gee, Paul, this might go into 3 discs. Okay. So anyway, this is still part of her bio for this launch park or whatever it is. The inception of the park was a creation of Aaron's consciousness. Now we're talking mind stuff again. Who runs mind control programming? Do you know, Paul? That's right. The CIA does that. Well, they all work for Israel, basically. They all work for Israel. I'll show you a picture here in a minute. The inception of the park was a creation of Aaron's consciousness when she discovered the concept of trampoline park during a family vacation to Disney World, aka hell. This is rich. 9 years ago. 9 in the occult represents hell, Paul. Why? Because in mathematics it's the only number that returns to itself, which is basically an endless loop. Remember the Beatles' White Album, the song number 9? All they said on there was number 9, number 9, number 9, because it's a repeating loop. Repeating loop. See, everything she's writing here is all coded pedophilia. Okay, now I'm about to show you a good one. Hang on. So this is off of Erin Arnold, her Pinterest, because I went and looked her. And she says ash highlights or dark hair. But do you notice something, Paul? Why are you mirroring it? Why are you mirroring it? Because she's in the club. She got done, and now she's an agent for it. You see how it's mirrored? And so I'm going to show you how this works. This is another way they pass off information. So we're going to do this. You see how it's mirrored? Now, remember I told you Mickey Mouse is a representation of hell. Remember he got the finger up? Mickey Mouse in the occult is an archon. An archon is a Greek Gnostic name for a demon. And he always wears white gloves. Why? Well, when you're committing a crime, you don't want to leave fingerprints, do you? That way you can always do the Pontius Pilate. My hands are clean. So watch. She puts this up there. You know, anytime they mirror, you know it's them. So we're going to make this really small like this. And I'm going to bring it up here like this. And I want you to sit back, Paul, and I want you to squint your eyes. And then you see the Mickey Mouse head in there? You see the eye there, the nose, and the mouth? And you see the ears? Okay, so that's classic mind programming. It's classic mind programming. So what they do is when they're torturing a kid, they'll keep flashing the picture of Mickey Mouse. And then if they ever need to, it's a trigger. They can show that kid that picture, and the fear and remembering the trauma will reset their brain so that they can bring out a character. It's interesting stuff. It's dark and demented, but it's really interesting. This is where you're getting all these school shooters from. This is where this comes from. It's mind programming like this. And this is Erin Arnold's page. And everything she wrote is pedophilic. And there's the mouse. It's all there, Paul. I mean, I don't have to make anything up. Stephanie's blank look. How many altars are in Stephanie? See, because you don't kill the body, you kill off or replace the altar. So let's just say Stephanie was programmed. Well, you don't kill her off. She has other altars in her head that she can bring forward. And then she'll be a new person, same body, but different mind with already programmed memories. I know Erin Arnold and Lasky are involved in this thing. And I'm hoping and praying you ain't. But if I was wrong about this stuff, how would I have known to shrink that head to see that mouse's head? Because I've been doing this for 20 years and I know their little tricks. Anybody looking at this would know that, and then they would know that she's into it, and then they would go to her. That's how it works, Paul. That's why I'm having a hard time dealing with this Stephanie got shot story. Okay, Paul, you know what this picture is? It's a slice of pizza. Let's play a game. You want to? So, there's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what is this? Well, I'll tell you what it is. Let's just make these letters a little bit bigger, Paul, so we can all read them, because we're old, ain't we? So, you see it's a slice of pizza? It's called Five Eyes. Five Eyes are the 5 Western countries that are involved in child trafficking. So we're going to start with America, England. Thought I had a capital on there. America, England, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. And guess who the sixth one is? Australia, Canada, England, America, New Zealand. Hold on a second. And then we'll just do this. We'll just change this to this color. And we'll just do this. And we'll just make the line a little bit skinnier. like this. And then so we have this. This is Australia. This is Canada. This is England. This is New Zealand. And this is America. And what's the rest of it? Well, the dark star, that's Saturn. Right? And the upside down pentagram, we know that. But what's the best part? Here's the best part, which is the worst part. Here it is, Paul. Ready? That's the eclipse. That's the two sides of the brain coming together. See it? Sun and the moon? In other words, if we did it like this, Paul, if we did it like this, hang on, let me get the right shape. If we did it like this, see, this is what they do. This is, incidentally, this is what the demonic horns are. It's just a representation of the eclipse. If I take this like this, I always get angry when this happens. Well, give me this. Hang on, just bear with me, Paul. I love to get the art stuff in there. See this like this? This is all black in here. Like the eclipse I showed you with the star in there. See what I mean? See what I mean here? I miss Stephanie a lot, man. Sometimes I'm at work and I have a hard time just dealing with life. She was such a great person, you know? And I'm truly not doing this to aggravate you, but you know what I'm saying? This has to be done, buddy. God, I hate this brush. Anyway, you get the gist. You see the eclipse? That's what that is. I know it's shitty artwork. It's the best I could do on short notice. I did love Stephanie very much. I miss her voice. She was like a daughter to me. She was like a girlfriend. She was like a sister. She used to come to me and I used to explain to her how Joe, what his narcissistic stuff was. The night that I talked to her, everything was fine. All Joe wanted was the no contact order to be amended. That's why I don't buy this story about her being murdered by Joe. She was murdered by somebody, but it wasn't him. And the cops not talking, and the time that's expanded, and the no videos, and it all points to foul play. I sure wish you and I could have met under different circumstances, buddy. As a pilot for years, I flew stunt planes and rode motorcycles, did all that stuff. Stephanie was really special. I have a comforter she gave me, and we went antiquing one time. She bought me like a little washcloth thingy. We actually ate at that stupid restaurant, Mystic Pizza. Don't ever go there. The only thing that's mystical about it is the price. Hang on. So this girl here is the girl that Joe was fucking on the side. His name is Hillary Abramson. Or Hillary Liberty. You see how she's a picture and a picture and a picture? You see how this is from the movie Citizen Kane? He's a picture and a picture and a picture. You see this? This is the clue to this. This is a picture that Hitler painted called Man Stabbing Crap. Well, you know how that works, don't you? When another man gets on another man, then he's stabbing his crap. So what I'm trying to show you here is that the person that this happens to gets stuck in an endless loop. That's why it's a doorway and a doorway and a doorway. It goes on forever. This is not like what happens with two gay people. I mean, this is what happens when you do this to a kid. And this girl that I talked to for about an hour and a half said Joe was very much into it, which means that Stephanie was very much into it. Well, maybe she wasn't, but knowing that creep for what he was. Paul, when Steph, when they had the domestic, why didn't you tell that guy, if you ever touch my daughter again, I'm going to throw you off a bridge? I would have. I might have shot him myself. And it really wasn't a domestic. They were arguing over a folder, which was stupid because it had information about Joe cheating on her, but she was going to show it to her kids, which I thought was absolutely retarded. They didn't need to be drug into it. She didn't drag him into it. He did. But it was stupid to be showing the kids anything. Anyhow, that's what this is. So this is what happens to these children that get screwed. In the movie Citizen Kane, which is really Cain and Abel. Remember at the very beginning, some creepy guy comes and grabs him, and at the end he says Rosebud. Yeah, that's street slang for somebody who gets fucked in the ass. Because they get hemorrhoids from it. So I'm going to end disc 2 and I'm going to start on disc 3, and that should be the last one. I didn't really think it was going to be this long, Paul. Honestly, I didn't. Again, if you and I would have met under different circumstances, I think we would have gone along great. I love fishing. I love aviation. You know, I was a hard worker. I lost a boatload of money in the '08 housing crash. I mean, a lot. That's why at my age I'm still out climbing trees, because otherwise I'll die on the street. So I just wish things could have been different. But I'm not going to let this go until I know what really, really happened. And if I have to wait until that boy, Cody, gets old enough, I will. And the day he turns 18, where he's no longer protected by the law, I'm going to ask him what really happened there. I just have a feeling something went on with kids in that general area that night. So now we're working on, starting on part 3. I just want to jump back into this Asherah pole thing for a minute, because I think it's important to get this completely squared away and understood. This is an Asherah pole. Today they're known as a stripper pole. It represents a big dick. Okay? The woman spinning around it, it's a combination of the two, which makes a Baphomet. This was here when they bought the house. And we're going to jump into that chick's history as soon as we get done with this Og stuff. And you're going to see just how fucked up this really is, and why there's no way this just could have been some dude with a shotgun, the ex-husband coming in and shooting. This is way too occultic. So this thing's in the back, and you can tell, see how it's sheared off on the top? I climb trees for a living. Somebody had to climb up there with a chainsaw and cut that. That didn't just break. And nobody will just leave that standing. You got the one-eye symbolism for Baal. You've got the sunflowers there. That's going to come in. That's going to come into play with the, as soon as we get into the next door neighbor. Those are referred to as the daisy of death. You got the child here sticking something in the mouth, which is indicative of any type of picture on Facebook or anywhere for pedophilia. They always do that. As we can tell, she's not looking at her camera to get a shot, because she's looking straight forward. The camera's being shot from an angle up above. So this was created for that exact reason. So we see over here again. Why does it say that this name? And like I told you, I finally just threw my hands up and I just finally put it in the Google search bar, and they came up with their names. The key word here is Og. Why would they both have that in their name? Well, because Og is a character. Okay? In order for those two to have these fictitious names, it means at some point they became part of an organization or a club of some type. And it seems that that's a biblical fallen angel type thing. It's really, really dark. So who is Og then? Og was an Amorite by birth, the king of Bashan. He lived in Ashtoreth. Now guess what comes from Ashtoreth? Asherah poles. So now you've got Og. Remember when the blacks were running around? They were calling themselves OGs because that stands for the original gangsters. The Nephilim, the offspring of the fallen angels. Here's a toy. This is interesting. I love Og, and here you have the signature for Mother, which they try and hide it, but it's really a snake. And what that is is they just make hard corners. It's all the same thing. Why would you put that on a toy? Interesting. Now, you see the Asherah pole over here? See it? See it there? This is something totally unrelated, but it's exactly the same thing. I was just flipping through Facebook, and it's one of those, where they go and investigate haunted houses, but they got murder basement. Well, you notice it's in black and white. Why is that? That's the two sides of the brain. That's why when you mix those two colors together, what do you get? You get gray. And people are always talking about, oh, the alien grays, alien grays. Isn't it funny that the alien grays always want to shove something up your ass? That's because black and white symbolically create gray. And because these guys are sodomites, it's just a symbolic thing they came up with. There's no alien gray anything. This is an Asherah pole, the same thing that this is. Okay? Same thing this is. And what you would do is you would have the person face this, you would wrap their arms around it like they're giving it a hug, and then they would tie a rope so you couldn't pull yourself back. And they would do the same with your feet. And then they would sexually violate you from behind. Stephani took this picture when? When she was in Colorado in 2008. Why would you post this picture? Not only is it not centered, it's crooked. Why? Because it represents an Asherah pole. There's way too much occultic shit wrapped around this thing and history. And it's interesting too because this color right here, the border, they use that. That's a color code for pedophilia. So that's interesting. Now the next door neighbor, I'll go grab one more picture, but the next door neighbor, Amy Laska, we're going to get into that bitch right now because I'm pretty sure she's playing a dual role here. And if this girl was murdered, she was the one that is behind it. So hang on a minute. So at least there's a debate on the word that they were dealing with Og, if they were big people or not. This is Joe, supposedly the one that killed Stephani. No man on this fucking planet that I know of has a hand that goddamn big. I mean, it's as big as the side of his face. But yet, they're using the name Og in these fictitious names of theirs. This is Stephani right here. Now, she sent me this picture, but what's odd about it is this kid's hand. Last I checked, 8-year-old girls don't have, 7-inch long fingers. This was some school function thing they had going on. None of this is what the cops are saying is true because all of this shit is showing me that there was some nefarious crap going on. Asherah poles, fictitious names, the same 4 people buying the same house over and over again from 2005 to 2024. It's a money laundering scheme or something. So let me just check. But now we're going to get into the perpetrator, the real perpetrator of it. Joe and Stephani might be part of this, or they might both really be dead. If they murdered Stephani, then they had to get rid of him, make him look like the fall guy. But we're going to work all of this out by the time we get done with this. Okay, so let's continue on with this Amy Laska bitch. Believe me, she's getting a copy of this too, so don't worry about my language. So here she is. She's the next door neighbor. I can bring up the text where Stephanie told me on multiple occasions, because I saved every one of them, that she was at her house having coffee in the morning on certain occasions. So you run this picture. Of course she's got a kid. 70 billion and nobody can come up with this picture. This is on her Facebook page. And her Facebook page ain't set to private, so whatever. The key thing here is that look at what it says here. It says 33 followers. To you, that would mean that there's 33 people. No, it's people that are into 33. I'll show you that in a minute. If you look at this very closely, remember what I showed you in Stephanie's backyard, the sunflowers? If you look here, every one of these broads has a sunflower on. Even to this teeniest one. And if you see right here, see your fingers just sticking out? I'll blow that up for you in a minute. But just so you understand what this 33 thing is, you see how he's spelling queer with the double threes? It's because that's what it is. That applies to children being used by such people. Here's a famous case, John Wayne Gacy. I remember this. We actually did a tree job for the brother-in-law. He killed 33 boys. No, he didn't kill 33 boys. He killed boys that were into 33, which is this. They were all this kind, right? And of course, he dressed like a clown. And the occult people that do that are called ass clowns. Ass clowns. They're sodomites. That's what all of this is about. Ass clowns. And if you notice the picture here, see the brick behind them? That's for masonry. Anytime you see these pictures with bricks behind them, it's masonry. If it's ever taken in the bathroom, it's always the homo thing. So if we look here, I want you to take a look at her finger, because she's sticking it out just enough so the people in the know would know that it's her. Let me do that a little bit better here. There you go. See how she's just got it just sticking out enough to let everybody know she's in the club. So this chick already a suspect. And of course, the angle of face, this is the troll face. That means somebody's fucking with you. I don't know. I kind of find it not to be so funny, but this seems to be somewhat of the case. Hold on. So let's continue. So here's this disgusting picture, the one that Stephanie found on Joe's phone. Okay? You see this? And she kept saying over and over again, why does that look like Amy? Well, I didn't know what Amy looked like at the time. But if you look, here's the comparison. It's the same ear. Here's the bangs. It's the same bangs. I'm not sure why it looks like a younger version, because I asked her, I said, well, what are these colors? Well, it's interesting, this color especially, because that color is this color over here. No, just bear with me. This is on her Facebook page. You know, it looks innocent enough, but llamas, as you can see over here, in the occult are, they represent child sacrifice. And again, let me make this perfectly clear. Child sacrifice does not necessarily mean murdering. When you anally assault a child, you rearrange their brain in a way that they can't come back from. It installs all kinds of bad stuff, including demonic stuff. If you look here, this is what the outcome of it is. The male and the female, remember I told you two halves of the brain? Right? You see the same color over here? Albert Einstein sticking his tongue out like Collie. Here, let me get a better picture to explain to you what all of this is. Just quickly, you see the comparison? The two ears? See the hair? It's her. It's her. Well, hang on a second. So let's look at these two pictures. They're exactly the same. You see the girl? You see the boy? You see the in the middle? You see this pink and yellow? That's the color code for sex and violence. And what you're going to see, this is the exact same picture. You see the man and the woman? You see the woman in blue here, the same color as the blue over here. So what happens? When these two get together, what's here in the middle? You get this. If people knew what a church really was, what it really represents, you'd cut out this silliness. So the thing in the middle is what? It's an altar. When these two combined, it creates an altar. An altar is not this thing. An altar is another personality. Right? You can have multiple altars. When Jesus talked to the man and he said, "What is your name, demon?" He said, "Legion, for we are many." That was a guy who let the demons in through the act of rumpy pumpy in his behind. If we look at this picture over here, it's exactly the same. And I hate, I have to waste your time showing you how this works, but this is what these guys do. They both represent the same thing. As a matter of fact, there's another picture I want to pull up real quick that'll make it crystal clear. So you see the man over here? The woman over here. See it? There you go. In the same color that these lights are. See? See the yellow and the pink? That's called saffron. That represents sex and violence. And here you see it here, and what do you see behind it? Well, you see the atomic explosion. The atomic explosion. So just hang on for a minute, and then you get this. This is the end result. Down here's the black cube. Notice what it says, altered states. Because they're speaking about altered in the mind. In the mind. This is what this whole thing that's going on up there where Stephanie's at. When you start getting into mind control and programming, that's CIA, military industrial complex shit. So the shit that's going on up there, this is why the feds came down, because they didn't want me up there, because I was going to show people this stuff. That's what's going on up there. That's what's tied to all of this. And I don't care if they come down and kill me for putting this shit out. It doesn't matter. I'm an old man. What the fuck do I care? I'm like John Wick. When they killed his dog, it was all he had. Well, you took the only thing good in my life, so fuck you. All right, so let me go grab that other picture. So if we look at this, and I'm just giving you the breakdown on the color here, it's all codes. That's one thing about a computer, it doesn't lie. It delivers it exactly the way it's been programmed, so that people that are sending and receiving, it's exact. They can't change one thing. You learn the codes, they're fucked. What did Confucius say? He said, their symbols will be their downfalls. So if we look at this, just to give you evidence of what's going on, what does it say here? Indian cartoon. New 3D Indian anal. There's that color again. This is from a movie that I watched about a guy who had a demon in him, and it was called Nefarious. There's the color. This is off of somebody's Facebook page. People who like my weird sense of humor. See the color of the shirts? But the weird sense of humor is that these two guys are tethered together because this dude is doing this dude. That's from Napoleon Dynamite. That's the weird sense of humor. But you'd have to know this stuff to get the joke. And then you'd have to post it for people that knew about it. So I just want to show you something. I showed you it's the male and a female. It's the two sides of the brain. One of the biggest things that ever happened on planet Earth in modern history was an exact repeat of the same effing thing. 9/11 was a ritualistic act of sodomy, and they made sure the whole world saw it. And how did they do that? See this here? You don't really think that that's a fireman, do you? This is the left half of the brain, this is the right half of the brain. Through the act of, you know what, over here, it fuses the two sides together. Wow, that's interesting. Let me just get a few more things here for you. I have to educate you guys as we go along so that you understand what the perpetrators are into and why the pictures are relevant that condemn them. So we have the two hemispheres of the brain that are destroyed by the act of anal sex on a child. Right there. It is also the first and second temple in the Bible that people keep thinking. A temple is in your head. It's not a stone fucking building. Okay? This is Israel's 9/11 memorial in Jerusalem. I'm sure you've seen this before. It's that shit emoji that everybody thinks is so cute. You know, it represents getting fucked in the ass. And here, oh, you gotta love this one. Look at the fireman. They're making sure that his finger is out because we all know what that is. So there's the finger, which represents this, and then this gets shoved up the number 3 in the backside, which is opening the number 3 on the upside. There's your 33, and what happens? Boom. Oh, this is what gets on this when they do that, see? Oh, thank you, Jerusalem. Thank you, Jews, for your wonderful help in your masterful play of 9/11. What's 9/11? Let me show you. You remember that movie Back to the Future? See, you got to remember something. All of these movies are written by Kabbalistic Jews. They're not written by Gentiles. Okay? Kabbalistic Jews. Wow. That's interesting, because that's really their covenant. That's really their covenant. Remember they told you it's the Ark of the Covenant? Well, the Ark is between the left side of the brain and the right side. It's not ARK, it's ARC. It's electrical. It fuses the two sides together. You ever take two pieces of electrical wire and you touch them together and they spark and they stick? That's exactly what happens to the human brain when you do that to a kid. So if you remember the movie Back to the Future, this was the mall he went to. Where did we see this number before? Well, here we're 2, and if we just do this, because they love to put this shit in the movies. If we just do that, and then we're going to do this. All right, there's your 9/11, and it went from 2 pines in the movie to after Doc Brown. That was the name of the guy. Remember the guy he was hanging around with? The old man? Doc Brown. Gee whiz, I wonder what color, what comes out of your body that's brown. I don't know, we'll figure it out. So he's hanging around with a young kid, an old man hanging around with a young kid, experimenting. And after, he goes into a similar world, but it's slightly different. And it's, instead of 2, it's 1. What happened on 9/11 after the 2 towers came down? What did they resurrect? 1 tower. Because 9/11 was the symbolic act of a child being violated. And we all know what group of people did that, because that's their covenant. Let's just make sure what I'm saying is true. No, before I show you what I'm going to show you, you remember this here? Remember you had to go 88 miles an hour? Remember? And then you go time traveling, because that's how you time travel, because it's in your head. Why are the tire tracks here? Because the 88 represents 2 serpents, which look like 8s. So you've got 2 8s, 88. What does that mean? Have you ever had deja vu? Well, here's what deja vu is. Your head flips back and forth from side to side. Just imagine. But every now and then, both sides activate exactly at the same second, and you go, whoa! That feeling that comes over you is like an atomic explosion, but it's associated with memory. So this would be an 8 here. That would be an 8. And this would be an 8. That's the 2 sides of the brain. Notice it says the atomic kid, because that's what happens. Boom! In the head. In the head. And I'll just show you a picture. They love to leave this stuff laying around all over the internet. Hang on. See, they love doing that, see? This was just a picture that was laying around. Because the people in the know that do this shit, they know what it represents. It's the desolation. As Buzz Aldrin called it, a magnificent desolation. Because he's a butt pirate too. See? The atomic kid right there. Boing. So what happens is when you do that to a kid, it's like this arc. It fuses the male and the female half together. This is what's behind all of this stuff. It's 100%. And I don't care what group of people get pissed off. You took the only thing I had. And so I don't care. So all of these nasty little secrets, I'm just going to lay them out for the entire fucking world to know. Period. So let me show you. So, famous story in the Bible. But let's do this. Let's put it in white. And I don't give a shit who gets offended. Wake up to the fucking reality of what's really going on here. I have to bring this back. Hang on. Paste. Now this is Genesis 2:2. That's why this is an occultically big number for them. Let's read it. And then God said, take your son, your only one whom you love. Yeah, let's use that in a sexual context because that's what it really means. And go to the land of Moriah. There you shall offer him up as a holocaust on the height that I will point out to you. That's an interesting word, holocaust. I thought that was a bunch of Jews in a penned up area. No, he took him up there to do some rumpy-pumpy on the kid because the Mount Moriah was the place where you went to see visions. Well, when somebody's sticking something up your backside, you get to see all kinds of scary things. Give you an example. Remember Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? You remember when they were in the chocolate river? Chocolate, think about the color. And they went into that tunnel and it was real scary. Yeah, same thing. So next time you get into this whole Holocaust thing, yeah, you can just shut them fuckers down with the true meaning of that. It's what creates the ark in the head. That's the ark of their covenant. It's not some goddamn box they're fucking walking around with. Anyhow, let's move along. Oh, let me just point out, again, here's the number 133. What's that tied to? It's tied to the fallen angels. Because once that happens, you get tied into that realm. And there's no escaping. This is the worst, absolute worst thing. It's better if you actually murdered the child. But once they do this, the kid's fucked for his entire life. So this is what's going on up in that part of the country, and all of this is tied into this whole Stephani thing. You just have to bear with me because I have to educate you as we go along, so you understand what it is that these people are really doing. This is what all Sandy Hook was, man. Why do you think there's people walking around going, we've seen those people walking around? Of course you have. Because they've been programmed with alters. They have multiple characters in them, and they can switch those characters at any time. That Mickey Mouse head that I showed you in disc 1? When the child is being raped, they show that Mickey Mouse head. At any point later, when they need to reset that kid, they only have to show them that picture. And that picture right there, will reset their brain. They'll go absolutely blank. And then they can either pull a new character out or install a new character with a whole history and everything. This is why I'm not so sure that Stephanie's dead. So, just to show you, remember these two wonderful characters from the movie The Shining? Remember Danny in front of the mirror with his finger up, looking in the mirror? You see what this says? If you're on your phone, it might be hard to see, but it says Monarch. That is an MK Ultra program. MK stands for Magic Kingdom. as I explained to you in the first video, I believe Magic Kingdom represents a fictitious mind. A fictitious mind. In other words, it's a fairy tale land that's made up in the mind of a child that's abused, right? And that is why Disney has the song, It's a Small World, because it's dealing with the mind that's created during the act of sexual abuse that the child creates as it's like a self-defense mechanism. But what they do is they augment that. They add stuff during that moment that the child's trying to escape into his own mind. If you remember watching I'll just do it play it again, hang on. So this is from an old Groucho Marx movie. He's looking at the guy's ass. Now remember I told you the act of sodomy is what creates a small world. That's what the song's about from Disney, which represents hell. Because hell means it's a fictitious world that you're not aware that it's fake. See, everybody's got this idea that damned means you're with demons and pitchforks. That's not what that means. Damned means you're not going nowhere. Like when a log falls across the river and the river stops flowing. You're like that little leaf in the corner that just spins around and around and around. That's what hell is. That's what hell is. Hang on. And here's old Mickey Mouse, and look at what's sticking up. The finger. And the black and white are for the two sides of the brain. This character here is an archon. That's the Gnostic name for a demon. That's Gnostic name for a demon. When you cross the black and the white, you get gray. And why are the alien grays always trying to probe somebody's asshole? Because it's all symbolic. They're alien because it's alien to your asshole. There ain't supposed to be something in there. But let's watch this thing from Groucho Marx. Here we go.
Fancy seeing you here. Well, it's a small world after all.
Boogie, boogie, boogie.
Yeah, so if you ever wondered what that whole thing about don't let the boogeyman get you, well, now you know. Now you know. Let me see here. Let's move along. And so let's look here. Here's off of her Facebook page, her with a llama, and over here, a child with a llama. Wow, all of these llamas. And no, she doesn't own a llama farm, so if you're going there, Stephanie most definitely would have told me if they did. She does not. Let's see what the llama has to do with the occult and murder. Let's see. Oh, the Tulane University professor researching the world's largest mass sacrifice of children and llamas. And she just happens to be featuring this on her front page. Isn't that nice? She's kind of got a mannish face, doesn't she? As Austin Powers said, that's a man, baby. Okay? So let's just continue, because this is going somewhere. This is probably going to be parts 4 and 5. Because this is all tied together in this mysterious supposed murder of the only thing that I had left on this fucking planet. So I'm not holding anything back. So if you get offended, shut the shit off. I don't care what your religion is, what you're tied into. This is how the real world works. Oh, just quickly, this is supposed to be Noah and the Ark. Remember I told you it's electrical? That's what the rainbow is. Yeah? Skittles, what's their logo? Taste the rainbow? Yeah, that's telling you to get queer. Why do you think LGBT uses the rainbow? Why do you think church windows are rainbow colored? You see the ark? You see it's coming out of his forehead right where your third eye is? It's because it ain't a big fucking boat, and there never was a big boat. Wrong ark. It's electrical. It's what happens to a child's brain when they get fucking molested. This bitch is into child trafficking, and I would not be surprised if she and her goons came over and tried to take Stephanie's kids. She had a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old. That I know that this broad is involved, and I'm going to prove to you right now that she's in child trafficking, because she's got an alternate persona which is exactly the person that sold the house to Stephanie and Joe. I'm not sure Stephanie's dead. I'm telling you, there's child trafficking going on, and this bitch is a big part of it. And so is the fucking government. That's why the FBI came down and stopped me, because if I would have gone up there with all of this, yeah, the townspeople probably wouldn't have been real excited with it. At the very, very least, this broad is involved in some deep, deep, deep witchcraft. That's at the absolute least. This is child trafficking murder. Fuck her. I've said this from the beginning. This bitch is behind it, and her refusal to speak to me or talk to me, just like Paul, tells me more and more and more that this is an organization, and it's probably governmental, because you're dealing with mind control and mind programming. Traffickers don't deal with that stuff. The government does. It falls under what's called the military-industrial complex. That's a big thing. That whole Sandy Hook thing that all you bought into, those houses were bought for $1. You know why they were bought for $1? Because they're government houses. They're government houses. The government is playing people for fools. And now you fucked with me, so now it's personal. Let's continue. So let's go back to this for a moment. So this is this other chick, Erin Arnold, who sold the house to Stephanie and Joe. Or Hizyog Frapkis, I guess it would be, right? And Stiagabu Frapkis. She looks strikingly similar to Amy Laska. Now, her name is Erin Arnold, but her real name is Erin Austerlitz. Does that sound Korean to you? Or does that sound like it might have a Ashkenazi Jewish sound to it? See, I can say these things because I'm Jewish, so fuck them. I don't care if they get pissed off. You stole the only thing I had in my fucking life, so I don't care. I'm going to take this thing to the nth degree. So her, and I'll show this to you again. Our Winter Park in Rhode Island opens up. This is a play place for kids. And a corporation got involved and opened like 30 of them, which tells me that this is probably international child trafficking. Our Park in Warwick opens each day on Christmas Day. Gee whiz, what's Christmas? Saturnalia. There's that word again. Saturn, whom the Phoenicians called Israel. Go read it. It's in the Antiquities. The six-pointed star is the six-pointed star of Saturn. It is not the six-pointed star of David. That's a bullshit story. And then we throw a pizza party. We all know what pizza is by now, don't we? It represents the code word for pedophilia. For kids who are in local orphanages and foster homes. Why? Because nobody gives a shit about those kids, and they get lost in the system and they never get found again. And they're really easy to move because there's nobody tracing them. And otherwise involved in youth and family services, she says. The goal is to offer kids a Christmas they wouldn't otherwise have. Our park in Richmond, Virginia hosts and meets for prospective adoptive parents and children in our foster care, she continues. No, those are prospective buyers. One moment. Now, I'm going to show you another video that I made earlier. And it's going to say the same thing, but here they're telling you the truth. So she says, otherwise blah, blah, blah. Let's see here. Our park in Richmond with prospective adoptive parents. So watch this. Watch this. America's shocking trade in unwanted children. Yeah, unwanted children. Foster kids and orphans, the ones that get raped and beat and murdered and sexually assaulted. So they've got them walking a runway now so that these people that are looking to buy them, aka prospective parents, right? See it? It's just, I'm telling you, this bitch is into child trafficking. Can check out their goods.
Very special and very sweet young lady who
There's that
is
color
looking
again.
for her forever family.
Here's the black and white.
She describes herself
It's a parade
as
like...
honest,
The black and white is for the merging of the two sides. That means these kids have been done already.
No other. Abandoned
God, this is sick.
children desperately selling themselves.
Watch the one coming out. Notice the colors up there, pink and yellow, for sex and violence. These guys are all every one of them needs to be hung.
To win
Watch this one with the finger.
over a new family, a new start.
She also likes
Yeah.
drawing and
There. See the finger? That means that she's done. She's in. There. The other one had the the saffron on, which is sex and violence.
doing arts and crafts.
And in the audience, sizing them up to find a perfect match.
You gotta find a perfect match. Which kid do they want to do? The fuck out of here, they're all perverts.
Are their potential parents.
Yeah. Potential buyers. Does this look like this bitch wants to be a mom? No, she looks like she wants to eat that kid's crotch. That's what she looks like. And this piece of filth over here is giving herself away. if you understand what you're reading. That's why I'm putting this shit out. Dave. Paul. Here's another one in black and white. Don't you think it's funny that you have all these people wearing black and white?
Okay, Michaela, you look so...
Here's another one in black and white.
It is distressing, tragic, and completely legal. Here in the US, it's a phenomenon known as rehoming, where, along with matching events, troubled kids are advertised like goods on eBay. And
Because it's for fucking pedophilia. That's why I have a sneaking suspicion they might have come in and took Stephanie's kids. This is definitely child trafficking. But things that the woman that I love was supposedly murdered, I ain't stopping. And I know the occult real well, and I know exactly what they're saying when they're saying it. Otherwise, notice her in the black and white. Otherwise, I wouldn't. I couldn't be this right if I was this wrong. The kids wearing black and white.
given to anyone who'll take them. Mostly they're adopted and often wear the scars of abuse and neglect. Most disturbingly, their parents have decided they no longer want them.
Well, no, the parents decided that they would sell them. This shit with this broad and that Amy Laska chick, I think they're the same chick, but even if they're different, there's connections. I'm going to send all of this information to every FBI outlet in the United States. I don't give a shit about the one in Rhode Island. That's too close to home. There's too many people that are bought off. The two number one countries for child trafficking, Israel is first, Ukraine is second. Who's in the news all the time? Oh yeah, Ukraine and Israel. Amazing. And what's going on? Over 300-something thousand children are missing? Gee whiz, where do you think they went? Oh, I know, they went for a pizza party.
Desperate people do stupid things and desperate things. There should be legal structures and social structures and professionals who know what the hell they're doing around all of this.
No, there should be somebody like me standing there going, this is what they're doing, and this is who's running it. And they think that they're chosen by God, but they're not. That's what you need. Also, this is the worst toupee I've ever seen in my life. So you get the gist, what I'm trying to tell you? So let's just read on. It was a week-long party, and this is Roman. How come the Italians aren't called Romans anymore? You know who else was Roman? You know what I used to tell Stephanie? I used to tell her, I'd say, I've got Jewish hands but Roman fingers. Get it? Why aren't the Italians called Romans anymore? You know who was Roman? Cain. And the Jews that wandered around in the desert for 40 years. They were Roman. Isn't that interesting? So let's read. The traditions of Santa Ana included giving gifts, toys to children. Wow, that sounds just like Christmas. Singing, lighting candles, feasting, drinking, merrymaking, and are you ready? Here it is. Right there. Asherah poles. Borrowed from ancient cultures. However, during this carnival-like festival, the social norms were reversed and masters waited on their servants. All sexual prohibitions were lifted. That means you could do the kids in public. Dresses were exchanged with men and men dressing as women. Gee whiz, where have we seen that before? Erotic dances were performed with large erect penises. See this here? Learning is fun, isn't it? Here it is. Being carried around in the dancing professionals. Orgia means secret worship. Well, it ain't no secret to me, and by the time you guys get done watching my stuff, it won't be no secret to you either. What they didn't tell you is at the end of this orgy, the people that owned the kids would murder them. See, they don't like to put that out because it's just a little too much for the public. But if you read in the antiquities of the deep dark stuff, yeah, that's what they did. That's how they ended it. And just so we make no mistake, remember Jeffrey Dahmer? Those of you that are old enough, he was another like a John Wayne Gacy guy. But guess what? He ate people because they do that too. You know, they eat the kids as well. That's where the story of Hansel and Gretel come from. But this is Jeffrey Dahmer, right here. You see how he's got his finger tucked inside his hand like that? That's a symbol for a dick and an asshole. It's code. So he was done a long time ago. And here's his brother. Gee whiz, what is this? Well, it's a demon. And what does he have out there? There it is. There's the finger. And when you see these celebrities and all of that, and even your elusive president always sticking his finger out, did it ever cross your mind on why he's doing that? He's not pointing at anybody. And if you think I'm making that shit up, why does the president to be and was, why does Donald Trump play the song YMCA at his rallies? You know, even in high school we knew that it was a homo song. Why would he be doing that? Why wouldn't he be playing a song like We Are the Champions? But he plays YMCA. And that was by the Village People. And if you don't know what the Village is in New York, it's where all those that are lighting the loafers, you know, namby-pambies hang around. What does it say in the song? YMCA, you can get a nice meal and you can do whatever you feel. Yeah, don't think this shit is on the lower levels. It emanates from the upper levels. So just so we're clear about this finger thing. And just so, you know, I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but here's another picture that had no explanation with it. I know what it is. Remember what I told you? That 9/11 was a representation of what happens to a child's brain when they get sodomized. Now, isn't it funny that you have a picture of a baby and she's pointing right in between the two halves? And notice she has a circle. That circle, that stupid-ass bullshit song by Elton John, The Circle of Life, Disney's bullshit story. The circle of life is when you're damned. You keep going around and around and around, and guess what? For all of you people that think Ezekiel's wheel is a flying fucking saucer, it isn't. He said when the wheels went, it went not. Because what it is a spiral. And it's a wheel within a wheel within a wheel within a wheel. For lack of a better word, they've sodomized this reality. People are dumber now than ever. We're not moving an inch forward. And they celebrate that. Whoever made this picture got it exactly right. Except nobody's got the balls to bring this shit out into the public and say it. Well, I am. You took away my girlfriend. I know I've said this a million times, but the fact of the matter is, I didn't even get any closure on this shit. I don't know if she's in an urn. I don't know if she's in a mausoleum. I don't know if she's walking around downtown. If anybody in Rhode Island that watches this, Her address is 171 Stubtown Road, Hopkinton. Rhode Island ain't that big. Somebody knows something. And what I'm doing here is not only just appealing to the public, I'm educating on you how child trafficking works and why all of this is. Somebody needs to put this shit out, so I'm going to. And I don't care who it hurts. This is primarily meant for the father of Stephani. So just so they know that I know how this shit works, because I got a strong suspicion that Stephani's this Stiagoboo Frabkis and Hesiod Frabkis, and it comes back to those guys. I'm sorry, she had to have known. How could she? Maybe not. I don't know. If she was programmed, which is what I'm trying to show you how this works. That's why I'm saying this isn't going to be the last one. There's probably going to be a part 5, 6, 7, and 8 on how this shit works and who's behind it and why they're behind it. The first two were more or less for the father, Paul, which we ain't even looked into him yet. That's coming. It's just so you know, Paul. I'm not trying to ruin your day, but you fucking rained on my parade. You didn't even have the fucking decency to fucking talk to me on the phone, which makes you look like you're part of this. Because I don't think there's anybody listening to this that if some guy had been with your daughter and was talking to her 3-4 times a day and texting for 2 years, almost 2 years, you don't want to know anything that I know more about her. I knew more about Stephani at the time of her death or missing or whatever than her own family did. She was my wife for that entire time. She was like my kid, my sister, and my wife all at the same time. Yet they don't want to know anything. No, you know why? Because they don't want it. They don't want me asking questions. Because if they're a front, they won't be able to answer them. So what do? You don't say anything. Like when you go to court and you don't want to plead guilty, what do you say? No contest. You're not saying you're guilty, but you're legally saying you're guilty. By turning your back on me and denying me any type of closure, makes me think that you're in on this, Paul. It really does. And with that fucking child trafficking bitch, Amy Laska. Which, by the way, I haven't gotten to this yet, but there's an intermarriage between those two families. As a matter of fact, one of the bitches, remember when I told you before the FBI came down, I showed you guys? Where they shut down the page on the 3rd, after I said I was going to bring the names of all the pedophiles. The one with her head against the mirror, is her last maiden name is Silva, the same as Stephani's. Again, I'm gonna say this: it's child trafficking, child ritual murder, and child programming, and that's being done by the government. That's why the FBI came in and stopped me from getting up there. Those guys just don't show up because it's fun for them. You kind of got to do something to get the FBI and the state police to come to your house. And so, well, they did slow me down. I didn't make it, but guess what? This is even better, because once I start sending these thumb drives out all over the world, people are going to start looking and going, yeah, what really was going on there? Where's all the video footage? We'll get, there's tons more. So these are actual, we went over this, right? We know that this is a dick. This is from 9/11. It's footage of the buildings on the ground and everything. Isn't this interesting? Doesn't that look just like a big dick and 2 balls? And notice this guy's laying here, and you see where his ass is. Well, it's not a big dick and balls, but it was shot that way on purpose. Really, this is the guy's head, and that's his shoulder. When I tell you that that's what this is, that's what it is. I spent a third of my life looking at this stuff and studying it. I'm a researcher of the occult. I don't participate in it, and believe me, I've been approached. And most recently, about 6 months ago, asking me to stop making videos, telling me that I was starting to get underneath people's skin. So, anyway, no, I'm not going to stop. Matter of fact, I'm going to get worse. I'm going to make more, and expose this shit to the public. Anyhow, But you see the optical illusion here, and they wanted that. They shot it like that. They shoot this stuff because they're insane, and it's their logo. It's their everything. See, that wasn't by accident. I'm just throwing this one in just to throw it in so you guys get the gist of it. Here's Sir Fentanyl. Remember him? Saint Fentanyl? George, whatever his name was. Remember him? George Floyd? I would have preferred Pink Floyd, but in this case, we'll take him. You want to tell me why Saint Fentanyl here has a little beach ball that looks just like this dude over here? Actually got the same thing on her? Same eyebrows and all of that? You guys are going to come to find out, and I guarantee you they're the ones that are involved in this thing with Stephanie. These dudes have their fucking mitts and everything. And if there ain't nothing bad going on, they create it because they profit from it. Just saying, that's what it is. At some point, you're going to have to believe me because the amount of evidence is overwhelming. What are the chances that this guy would have a ball that looks just like this guy? And here we are. Let's just take a look at this whole thing, the mind programming of generations and, the whole flipping the sex thing. Yeah, it's the same culprits. See the color? In case you didn't know, this is Bill Gates. Maybe now you know why he wants to kill everybody. And the balloons he's holding looks like a big dick. Are you starting to get the gist of this? Here's the pedophilia color. Here's the balloons that look like a ball sack and a dick, right? And if we read over here, this will explain why this is going on. Let's see, what does it say? The androgyny agenda, male-female combination, is a religious agenda. It is a Kabbalistic agenda. And who do you think runs the Kabbalistic agenda? You know who. You know, begins with a J and has an U in the middle. Androgyny is based, ancient religions hold that not only the male and the female, one being in the proper order of things, but that the beginning and the end of history also of one of the and the same form. That is to say, human beings must return back to their original state of androgyny. And mirror, there's that word mirror, remember? The brain? The gods, who will follow suit and once again become androgynous when the world has been when the world has been repaired, as above, so below. And remember, I told you it was a seal of Saturn. That's what that symbol is. The seal of Saturn, whom the Phoenicians called Israel. Starting to get the idea who's behind all of this? I can assure you, Aaron Austerlitz, who is Aaron Arnold, is tied into all of this, which all gets back to the whole Stephanie thing and what really happened. And I'm sorry it's taken me so long to educate you guys, but Billy over here, he was forced to live his life as a woman. He looks real happy. That's a good look for him. That's why his mind is demented and he's into murdering people. Because he got done, and what that does, part of it is, it takes away your humanity, your empathy. So I'm going to end this. This is the end of number 3. And so, Paul Silva, if you're still paying attention, maybe you're not, maybe you don't care. My message to you, my friend, is you didn't win. As a matter of fact, in the end, you're going to lose. And guess what? I'll be relocating to Rhode Island so I can be really, really close to all of you. See, at least if I can't be with her, I can be close to the memory of her. Oh, and I'm going to go to that house where she lived. In one way or another, I'm going to get in it. I'm going to have me a look around. Yeah, you shot somebody 4'11" at point blank range with a 12 gauge. Yeah, there's going to be some repair to that wall and the floor. And usually it's really easy to see. So I'm ending this right here, right now. For those of you who are watching, I appreciate it because not only are you learning something, you're starting to understand how the world really works. And it ain't nothing like what you thought. So, let's continue on here with part 4. We know that the mouse, Mickey Mouse, is an archon. It's a demon. And it all has to do with mind control. So here's Mickey Mouse's little hand here. Funny he's got that finger up, huh? Yeah, because we know where that finger goes up. It goes, you know right where it goes up. Here we see this over here. Here's the Mickey Mouse. Here's the eye, which represents the asshole, basically. Here's the mirror, which causes the reflection, the two sides to mimic each other, become one. Then you've got old Aaron Arnold, which is Amy Laska. Remember, this is her thing. More ideas from Pinterest for her. I like how it's ash blonde. Yeah, ashra blonde. Yeah. And remember, here's the other one. If you take this and you squish it down, really tiny. You see the Mickey Mouse head, but it's an evil one. That's the one that they use when they're programming a child. They'll flash that in front of their eyes, and while they're being tormented, that picture is being ingrained in their subconscious. And at any point, once that kid's programmed, they can flash that picture, and it will put their mind back in that state of trauma, and the kid will go blank, and they can either install an alter or pull another personality forward. Down here, you see Mickey Mouse that looks like Kali, the Hindu goddess. Okay, all of this is really bad stuff. None of it is good. However, we've established what the whole Walt Disney thing is. Now, if you watch here, let me grab it real quick. So this, if you know how to decode this picture, why is this adult woman sitting on this very, very big chair? Well, it's because what they're symbolizing, and if you look here, the fingers up, although she's an adult, she's still locked into the small world in her mind. Those little fuckers right there are the altars that have been created in her mind that she's friends with. And if you look over here, that number 6, that is what's referred to as the number of the man of lawlessness. And the man of lawlessness is, guess who? Begins with a J and has an U in the middle. And then on the door here, they have the seal, which is all about the whole sodomy and creating the fake realities, and it comes back to the same thing, folks. So now that we've established all of that, now we can move on further with this Amy Laska, Aaron Arnold, Austerlitz broad. Just real quick, just so you can see the comparison. These are little characters in her head. You see this here? See the characters right here in his head? Remember I showed you this? The ghost army. See them? That's why you can see through them. Because they're all altars. That's what these little guys are to her. And if you look on the wall, right here, you'll see the seal, which is saying the exact same thing that I'm telling you right now. There you go. And that's why he's got that blank look on his face. It's the same thing with her over here with the one eye symbol. I know this stuff really well, guys. I've been doing this for 20 years. I know the games they're playing, and I know how pictures are shot and the meanings behind them. Stephanie, that's not even, whatever that chick is, whoever that chick is, a version of her, whatever. There's nothing going on in that head. Same thing with Judd Hirsch, was that his name? That's why they're translucent. And if you look closely, and then we'll move on. I don't know if you can see it. You see them there? If we look in the background here, there's the face of you-know-who with the horns on the head. Yeah. So, I was just giving you a comparison and showing you. They actually were ballsy enough to put the seal on the fucking wall. So now that we've got that established, let us move on. So we look, here's Old Ugly's Facebook page with the llama, and here's the picture with the kid. Okay, this isn't a family outing. This is for people that are in the club. They would look at that and they would know that the llamas represent child sacrifice. And here we see the child featured with the llamas. She doesn't have a llama farm. Everything about this bitch, I mean, very manly looking, for starters. Okay, there ain't enough whiskey for me to drink to fuck that. This is all part of how these guys talk to each other. So we've already established that she's already put her what do they say? She put her advertisement out. She put her shingle out for everybody to see that this is what she's into. So this is Amy Laska, and this is Aaron Arnold. Aaron Arnold has this, the Mickey Mouse, and what does that say? It says me. Remember the movie Despicable Me? The me's are demons. That's why they're despicable. That's why they show the one that's got the single eye. But Disney likes to take everything evil and make it look all cutesy butsy type stuff. Okay? Here's Aaron Arnold's Pinterest thing. 27 followers, 93 following. Well, if you have 27 followers, how do you have 93 following? Because it's not 27 followers. This little number right here. These guys, so fucking predictable. The number 93, watch. So we take a look. The number 93, Thelema. and Thelema summed to 93 in Hermetic Kabbalah. The phrase love under will is often abbreviated as 93, suggesting that love under the law. Well, who came up with that? Aleister Crowley did. Love under the law is the whole of the law. Meaning, the way that they say that, what they mean is, it's okay to do whatever you want as long as you do it with love. So it's okay to rape a kid as long as you're doing it with love. See, I always love this too. Remember how they said that the World Trade Centers came down with thermite? No, it came down with thelemite. Because I told you it was an act of sodomy. It was just played out. Yeah, they dropped the buildings. But it was just a play of what happens to the mind when a child got sacrificed. When they dropped the towers, that was the world being sacrificed to the one world government, which is why they put the single, two sides of the brain fused to make the one. It's symbolic of the world all becoming one unit instead of different countries. And the JUs have worked very hard to make sure that that's happening. So she doesn't have 93 following. She has people that are into 93 on her page. Period. This shit is comical. And if you look here, the orgasmic ordeal, sexual magic in Thelema. And what is this? It's an eclipse. And here's the two sides of the mind, brain slamming into each other. Thelema magic, yeah, it's a lot of naughty stuff. But as long as you do it with love, it's okay if you're raping a little kid. Stupid fucking planet. So, what do we got here? This is Erin Arnold. See it? Founder and strategic advisor. Here she is here. And here she is with this schmuck. If these two don't look like a front for some goddamn thing, I don't know who does. Okay? This is their little thing where they have kids go called Launch, which a big corporation called Silver Oak. There's that word silver, which represents what? The reflection. And what was the oak? The oak is where biblically they took the kids to be sacrificed. They took them to the oak groves. That's interesting. But anyway, let's stick to this ugly bitch. Here she is here. Now, Amy had the llamas. Here's Erin this is another front page for whatever organization she is. Her name is Erin Elizabeth Arnold, or Austerlitz. Here she just tries to hide it with her, just her first and middle name. But what has she got? Well, she's got a picture of a cow. Okay, well, that's nothing wrong with that, except that you already know the history of this cunt, and when you know what this cow represents, which I'm going to show you, It just makes the story all that much better. Oh, let's see. There's that cow. Oh, there it is right there. That's why she's got it in there. Since medieval period, Moloch has been portrayed as a bull-headed idol with outstretched hands. Well, actually, let me just show you what that is. Once you learn these codes, you never forget them. Goes down, comes up, it goes up, and then it comes here. There, zip. This is depicted as brief moments in Moloch in the Bible and combines with various sources, including ancient accounts of Carthage, child sacrifice. See, we're back to that again. I couldn't be this right if I was that wrong. And the legend of the Minotaur. What did the Minotaur do? When you got into the Minotaur's maze, you were in a maze, and the Minotaur looked like a dude, but he had a bull's head. And you only had so much time to get out, and if you didn't get out, well, then the Minotaur had an axe and he killed you. Same thing. Just making a sacrifice more fun, I guess, for the people that are into those type of things. So now we know old Aaron Arnold, or Elizabeth Arnold, Elizabeth Aaron, she's flashing gang signs again, because really, let's face it, that's what these things are. And as we look, we see how many aliases Mrs. Austerlitz, aka Amy Laska, has. Let's see. Here she is as Aaron E. Austerlitz. Here she is as Aaron Washington. Here she is as Aaron Haggerty, Aaron Polster, Aaron Narragansett, Fit F, and Aaron Powell. Gee, why do you need the only alias a woman should have is when she gets married and takes her husband's name. That's her alias. It's the alias to her maiden name, not this. Oh, wait till you see that bright shining schmuck that was in the picture. Watch this shit. This thing screams networking. So let's see. Here's old Robert Arnold, the supposed husband of Aaron Arnold. Let's see his aliases. Robert Larnold, Robert L. Arnold, Robert A. Arnold Jr., Robert Aaron Arnold Jr., Robert L. Arnold Jr., Robert Richard Arnold Jr., Robert R. J. R. Arnold Jr., Robert R. Arnold Jr., Robert Arnold, Robert Aaron Arnold. Well, that's neat. He's using her name now. Robert Aaron Arnold, Robert R. Arnold, Robert Rob R. Arnold, and Bob R. Arnold. And if you go and you look more into this character here, it's like he opens a business. It's open for like 6 months, and then they shut it down and they move. Then they go and they open another one. That's probably what all these different names are. And he does it for 6 months and then shuts it down. That to me speaks of some type of a fraud or a money laundering organization, and then they just move on. Nothing good about these folks. Might not want to lend them any money. Probably won't see it again. Yeah, everything with these fuckers is code. So here's Robert L. Arnold, who owned the house before Stephanie and Joe got it. Or I'm sorry, by the correct name, Hisiog Frapkas and Stiagavu Frapkas. Okay? You see, recording date, the 24th. I love this down here, though. Here's their batch sequence, and of course it ends in the 33. Of course it does. Here, let me just show you something off topic. So here's old Robert L. Arnold that owned the house before Stephanie and them got in. Here's the batch sequence. So that's the code that says that they're in a club. This is a very, very old picture of the Beatles before they were actually the Beatles, but they were actually referred to as the Silver Beatles. Why silver? Because that's reflective, which is indicative of a mirror, dealing with the mind. The beetle part represents a dung beetle, and a dung beetle lives in shit. And what that's in reference to is they're in the club of 33. And as you can see, they highlight this part of the license plate because they want everybody to know that these are a bunch of namby-pambies. See how that works? So we know old Robert and Aaron are into Rumpy Pumpy, don't we? And here's two of Aaron Arnold's, two of them, of her many emails. Born infinity forever. Why would you pick that unless you were locked in a never-ending loop? Because that's what happens to people that get done like that. They get stuck in a perpetual Groundhog Day. And this one, Wizardy Times at Gateway. Gee, what gateway would that be? Oh, we both know, don't we? We all know. Wizardy Times and Born Infinity Forever. The old saying in the occult is demons want to die and humans want to live. So which one between the two, a demon or a human, which one would say Born Infinity Forever? Well, that's a real brain teaser. So now we're getting to the part where we've established that none of this shit is normal. We have Asherah poles, we have high leanings toward child trafficking and murder, sacrifice. We have people using fictitious names, Joe and Stephanie, the Aaron Arnold and Bob Arnold. You know, the guy with about 50 different aliases. Great businessman. Now we have this. So trying to track down where she's buried, I couldn't find anything. Yet to this day, I can't find any death records. So I did find something that said that she was here. So hang on. So we see here, July 6th, Stephani Francis obituary, Old Saybrook, Connecticut. Stephani Francis, age 44, of Hopkins, Rhode Island, passed away on Saturday, July 6th. Where is this? Dignity Memorial. You go there, there's not one record of her. But let's just take a look at, what we're dealing with here. So, this is Dignity Memorial. Who has a fucking hexagon frame for anybody? It's not. It's because this whole thing is symbolic. Okay? If you notice on the North Pole of Saturn, and believe me, I'm an expert on this. I'm the guy that busted all this shit loose in 2007. So much so that the Department of Defense came down and shut me up because it's tied in with the J-ooze. Okay? So let's just play this game here. You see the cube? See the third dimensional cube there? That's made from that hexagon. See Mother's head? It's the same freaking thing. See the finger? So why don't we just take her head right here. Why don't we just take that out and put it right in there? Because that's where it goes. Because what you're looking at here is this cube right here. It is on the left-hand side of the tree of life. And it's called Binah. It's also called the devil. It's also referred to as mother. These three women are what's referred to as the past, the present, and the future. Because Saturn is what runs time. This is the dope that gets led around by the leash and gets sodomized by her. And as you can see, they made sure to put that in. You see? Chicks with dicks. Do you understand? So here we are even in weirder waters than when we even began. See, this isn't just a murder or suicide thing. No. This is far from that. Now, where else did we see this? We see it right here in the Temple of Bel, which is the Temple of Baal. You see this one here? That's the original. This one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one are altars. Okay? And if we look here, there's the Baal, the one-eye symbolism of Baal. All of this shit. This thing reeks to high heaven. Somewhere down the line, I'm going to be able to get my hands on somebody, and I'm going to beat them within an inch of their life. Somewhere, man. Because they are fucking with, well, they're fucking with me, but I mean with people in general. Now how this works is, you see how there's 6 sides? Each one of these 6 sides creates another 6 sides, and another 6, and another 6, and it just spreads out. That's what your flower of life is, but it's not a real life. It's living fictive. Have you ever watched Quantum Leap? That's what that was. If you ever watched Quantum Leap, all of those characters that he was trying to straighten out were all him. So now we get to the part of the whole funeral thing. All right, so we're past the funeral, now we're into the memorial. So they put this here, and they use a picture of her. I don't know who this is, because if you remember at the very beginning, the face similarity on test with the AI, what's it say? What does it say? The 2 photos is not the same person. This is this. This is the one I know. This, who the fuck knows? But they put that picture here. And, of course, they had to code it up, because they always do this, right? So what did they do here? What did they do here that they always do this shit? They put a 3 there, and what else did they do? And what do we come up with? We come up with 33, don't we? Because there's no reason to bind 3 candles together, is there? So now we've got a picture of a woman who, I'm going to tell you right now, never made that pose. Because Stephanie was 4'11". I'm only 5'6.5". Even at my height, which is below what a normal guy is, most guys are 5'7" and up, I would have had to get down on my knees and get at a specific angle and get her to look up like that. And how would you do that? This picture is what's referred to as a clone, where they take a picture and they manipulate it. And why would they do that? They did that because they were raising money and they were pulling on the heartstrings of people. That's those type of poses, because I took some cinematography. Those type of poses are, you're looking off into forever or eternity. And that's supposed to make people sad, like, oh, she's gone, you know, we'll never see her again. But it's not this chick. I don't mean to be rude, but this is the one that I was in bed with, not this one. Yet somehow this one makes it into the memorial thing. Do you understand why the parents and everybody cut me off? Why they didn't want me up at the memorial? Because I could have walked in and I would have blown that thing apart. Hang on. Now, Stephanie had a distinct tattoo on her arm. It was no big deal. She never brought it up. We never talked about it. This is a hummingbird with a bunch of flowers. Why does Amy Laska, or Aaron Arnold, why does she have that transferred onto her sweatshirt? And why are they using it for their logo? Because this was like their fundraiser for the kids, which they wound up raising almost $40,000. Took me a minute. It took me a good couple of days to figure it out, and then it hit me. Because I said, if they're using this thing, they're wearing it on their shirts and using it as their logo, and Stephanie's got it on her arm, well, it's got to mean something. Well, it does. The flower is a specific flower, and we're going to get somewhere with this. And so we see this flower right here, which is called the hibiscus. And what is the hibiscus? In the Hindu religion, which is what the Jews are tied into, honestly, they're tied into the Jewish, the gods are the common connectedly to certain flowers. The hibiscus belongs to the goddess Kali, who can be found in art merging with the flower. Here, ready? Here it comes. Kali is the goddess of destruction. Gee, who'd have seen that coming? And the red flower is associated with her tongue and the bloodlust that she is capable of exhibiting. That's part one of it. What's with the hummingbird? Hang on. Project Hummingbird. It's an MK Ultra program. I remember it. Project Monarch is another one. Project Bluebird is another one. Each one of them has their own split. This one was dealing with brain imaging, electroshock therapy, and to delete memories. Remember what I told you about installing and reinstalling altars? Oh, and I just wanted to, let me see, let me back this up. I just want to show you how the dates correlate with supposed her death. Hang on one second. The hibiscus, she died supposedly on the night of the 5th. What does this say? Hibiscus in the Witch's Garden, July 4th. I don't know. After 20 years of looking at this shit, there's no such thing as coincidence. Now, here's a picture right here, MK Ultra of Project Hummingbird. What's interesting about this is that it's purple, which is the two sides of the brain, red and blue. And if you look right there, there's the dragon's claw. So, what are we dealing with here, man? I mean, what are we really dealing with here? It's like high sorcery mixed with governmental mind warping and mind altering projects. It's kind of like mixed. How does she fit into it? That I don't know. All I know is, the only guess I can make is that the death that they're speaking of is not a physical death. That they erased the character that she was and installed a new one. Ding Dong 2, Joe. The lack of any footage of any of this happening leaves the question of where's the body? Where's the body? Where's anybody? No pictures of the house, no videos of the house, no videos of the crime scene, no pictures of the police in front of the house, no ambulances in front of the house, no interviews with any of the neighbors, no yellow tape around, no barricades put up to say do not enter. Doesn't sound like a typical murder scene, does it? Sounds more like somebody just ain't home. Right? No video footage of 11 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday in Rhode Island of a man in a black SUV doing 120 miles an hour. I don't know. Nobody in Rhode Island has a cell phone? And then the one dude that kind of puts it together and brings it to the attention of the perpetrators, the FBI and the state police show up and take his car and say, you've got bullets in your car. And something came from somewhere and we don't really know why, but we took your car and now you can't have it back for a week, on the very day that I was going to drive up there. Because I had bullets in my car, but then when I went a week later to get the car, the bullets were still there in the exact same spot. Any real law enforcement in a real world would have removed the bullets and then they would have released the car, but they didn't do that. See, this thing reeks of government and high masonry. Reeks. And you know what they say? Take Judaism out of masonry and what do you got left? Nothing. This thing reeks. This is a fucking network that spans across the fucking globe. That's why whatever this obituary thing that they're talking about showed up in Canada and in England. Let me just show you something else that I ran across just last night. Now if you look here, you'll see an overview. Stephani Francis, 44. See her email? See it right there? And we're going to scroll down. Her phone numbers. That's her original one when I first met her. So we're going to scroll down. Here's her email right here. And here's another email she had. Now, hang on. Now, I noticed that this woman, this will make sense in a minute, says she may currently or previously have been associated with the email address listed below. Well, look who shows up. Well, who is this woman? The morning that this happened, this woman called me. She had been on my page for years. She said that the Rhode Island State Police were going to contact me. And I said, well, how do you know that? And they said, well, they called her. And I said, well, why did they call you? And she said, oh, everybody here knows everybody. And I said, yeah, but how did they know to call you to get my number? And she did, I was so out of it. She never really gave me a correct answer. This is Kay O'Neill. So now, how does Kay O'Neill have Stephani's emails when they were both on the page at the same time in a 2-year period? Neither one of them ever mentioned the other one. Not once. But somehow Kay has Stephani's emails. Oh, wait. It gets better. Now, Stephani told me that she had lived in Netherlands. Now, that's only about 30 minutes from me at this point. See the address? P.O. Box 946, Netherlands, Colorado. But she's in Rhode Island. Okay, fair enough. Hang on. Here is Kay O'Neill's address. So not only do Stephani and Kay have the same P.O. box in Netherlands, Colorado, but they share the same emails. Now if we look over here, I'm just showing it to you in a blow up. Here's Kay O'Neill, related people, Stephani Francis, people that are known to her. Here's Kay O'Neill, age 71. Here's her physical address, P.O. Box 946, Netherlands, Colorado. Stephani's address, 946 P.O. Box, Netherlands, Colorado. Here's Kay's email and Stephani's, both of these. Stephani lived here in the late 90s. This broad's supposedly living here now. She has a business 30 minutes from me, which means now finally there's a physical body for me to interact with and ask questions. That P.O. box, there's no doubt in my mind, is what's called a drop box. It's not necessarily used for mail, it's what they use to drop information. There could be 50 people that got keys to that box. These emails, which kind of sucks, which means if this Kay O'Neill was using those email addresses, and Stephani was, all the things that I wrote to Stephani were open to anybody that had access to that email. This is a big-ass fucking network. A real big-ass fucking network. So I want to show you this. There's just some cleanup stuff I have to show you. So remember the hibiscus flowers, Kali? Remember? Said for the bloodlust and all of that. And here you have the Mickey Mouse with the arms of Kali, the Hindu goddess with multi-armed. Yeah? This is the girl that was doing Joe on the side. I talked to her for about an hour and a half. You see this picture over here? You see that sign right there? The dragon's claw? Because this would be a representation of a dragon's skull. This is her. 1 second, let me go grab just one more piece of this here. Hang on. Now that's her right there. See her? You should already know what it means when they're boxed in, boxed in, boxed in. It means they're stuck in a perpetual loop. But the interesting thing is it says Norwich State Hospital, which means she was in an asylum of sorts. But what's interesting is, you see the dragon's head on the floor? You see how everything is all burnt up? See it? Same critter. This is some really fucked up stuff, folks. And she told me, because Joe was doing her, she said Joe was big time into anal. So, a box and a box and a box and a box is the same thing as a spiral. You just keep going round and round and you never get anywhere. And you notice this is a mirror. So, you can kind of get the gist of what's going on here. But there's the critter there. Here it is over here. This, they're making with the hand, is the vagina. And there's the number 3 for the Kabbalistic tree, or tree of life or death, or whatever you want to call it. So what to conclude from all of this, huh? I get to sit here with no help. That's why I'm loading these up to flash drive, and I'm firing them out all over the place. All over Rhode Island, all over the United States, I'm sending them to England everywhere I can, but especially Rhode Island. Let me show you one more thing here. Remember old Erin Arnold? Remember her? Remember what she said? She has a Christmas party for kids who are local orphanage and foster homes. The pizza party was pedophile and prospective adoptive parents, prospective buyer on Christmas, which is Saturnalia. Why did that's Erin Arnold? Why did Amy Laska set up a table at a memorial for a deceased woman for foster care? Do you normally set up tables for foster care at a memorial for a dead woman? I don't think so. And her kids aren't foster kids, supposedly living with the parents. But I just want to bring that up real quick. Let's just take a look at this real quick. So, this is, see, there's the logo. So, this is supposed to be at a memorial? When your daughter was blown in half 4 months prior? Or 3 months? And you're smiling like this? Come on, man. And this is the mom and the dad. This is the son. I mean, this guy here, that's my exact sentiments. This is the son. I don't know. How does that work? Supposedly in the police report, the son and the daughter and the kid that was staying overnight were like 10 feet from her when she got shot. These kids are way tougher than I am. You know what I was doing on the 3rd of October? I was going to throw the goddamn table through the fucking wall. These guys were having the time of their life. Here's the daughter. And these are genuine pictures. They are not, when I say genuine, I mean they're not forced smiles. But I'll show you the trick to this, just so you understand. So what I did is I started taking the pictures and running them through a AI facial recognition. It'll tell you if it's AI. Well, lo and behold, this one is 3/4% AI. The template might have been of a real person, but the picture is fake. Here's the son and the mom. 77% AI. Here's a picture of Joe off of her Facebook page. 70% AI. Here's one of the original pictures that Stephanie sent me. Do you remember that one? Three quarters AI. Here's a picture of the dad. Smiling. Almost 80% AI. And this really great picture of her, 92%, almost 100% AI. You know, the whole MK Ultra program was supposed to have been terminated, guess when? Anybody want to take a guess? Because it's a number we've gone over and over. 1973. There's that 73 again. So, what to do? So, not only is the police story full of shit, but the pictures of everybody involved are too. No, this is the chick. But that's not a real picture of her. In other words, AI created that. What that 92% is they took a picture of her and they morphed it, changed it. Same thing with these other ones. Why would you do that? You're going to tell me that everybody's going to be smiling like that when your daughter was blown in half with a shotgun. You know, that tells me that this is being all AI driven. Because an AI doesn't understand emotions, therefore it wouldn't know that people would still be grieving like me, who was going to throw the table through the fucking wall on the night of the 3rd. It makes the connection that it's a memorial and everybody will be happy. And so it made everybody look happy. Whenever you get into mind control anything, it's always CIA and military industrial complex. The FBI and the state police didn't come down to say, hi, how you doing? I was a valid threat to them because of everything that I've showed you these last 4 hours. And yeah, they stopped me from getting there that day, but they ain't stopping me now, because now this shit's going to be going everywhere, and they might be able to stop some of it, but they won't be able to stop all of it. And somebody's going to know something, and just one more thing I want to show you. So this here is just a thing that I put together because I thought it was very interesting. The way that the trees are offset, they're coming out of their heads. See how that looks? Isn't it funny that there was a show on Netflix called Altered Carbon, where the guy's got the tree growing out of the head? And what's altered? The carbon isn't altered. The mind is altered. There's no altering of the carbon. There's altering maybe multiple characters. Then let's look here. Fallen Angel. Fallen Angel is the second episode of Altered Carbon. Well, who's the fallen angel? Here's Joseph R. and here's Stephanie R. Or Hizzy Og and Steve Ogaboo. Here's Og, Fallen Angel, Lemon Tree 94. Fallen Angel Og, Wade, Og, Fallen Angel. In the future, humans have achieved virtual immortality. Most people have a cortical stack. That's this frickin' thing that they put up in Chicago in their spinal columns that store their consciousness. If their body dies, their stack can be restored. Their stacks can be downloaded into new body sleeves after death. Well, that's just taking that altar and installing it is all that is. I'm going to end this right here, right now. I still got some other stuff to do with this, but I think you get the gist of it. I don't know what went on up there. Believe me, physically I'm going to make a presence. Right now I have to concentrate on getting this shit set out. Because, I mean, honestly, after watching 4 hours of this, does any of this sound normal to you? Any of it? No pictures, no murder scenes, no films, no nothing, zero. Attorneys that refused to take it. Initially that said, yeah, we'll fill out the paperwork, and then the next day say, no, we're not touching this thing. That screams government all over it. All I know is at the end of the day, I lost somebody very important to me. And I got a bunch of people that know the truth and ain't talking shit. It's just that, are these people really her relatives? The mother's height is indicative of Stephanie. So I would say, yeah, those two are probably her parents. However, if you were the parent and they were throwing this memorial, why would you let them use fake pictures of you and of the kids? And what's more ridiculous is that the grandmother and grandfather, which are Stephanie's parents, how come they're never seen in this thing with the two kids with them? Don't you think that they would have taken a picture together for family solidarity, showing that they were a tight-knit unit? This thing reeks. It reeks. But I can tell you this. They fucked with the wrong guy. You grabbed the wrong guy, because I will spend the rest of my life seeking out every little possible detail to find the truth of this. This is like the fucking X-Files, for fuck's sake. If you ever watched that, the guy spent the entire series looking for his sister. In the end, he found her. But I mean, it was one thing after another after another. Now I got some broad that was supposed to be in Rhode Island 30 minutes from me, using the same P.O. box that Stephanie used in the 90s, yet both of them were on my page at the same time. And they're using the same email. I'll keep you updated. But if anybody thinks this thing is normal, with the amount of pushback and the federal interference and all of this shit that I showed you, I couldn't be this right if I was that wrong.